Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. My martial arts will become an evil god. Chapter 81. In the house. Looking at the countless black bugs, a small bug with the smallest body, the weakest breath, and almost completely imperceptible crawled towards the gap in the still undiscovered mountain protection formation. Fang Ping turned and disappeared into the shadows. Boom. In the next second, a group of fierce rays of light rushed out of the backyard in an instant. Directly in the yard, the powerful spiritual light scattered, and instantly emptied the countless black insects in the yard. Then the aura dissipated, revealing the figure of Tian Xuanzi. Hateful. Looking at the corpses on the ground with broken bones, Tian Xuanzi waved his hands angrily. A big hole was blown out in the ground next to it. How about the casualties? Tian Xuanzi looked at An Xinghua with a very sad voice and asked. B560. And Xinghua clenched his fists tightly, his eyes flushed with anger and sadness, and said through gritted teeth. Yongye, how about you? Tian Xuanzi looked at Luo Yongye and the others on the other side. Forehead. Luo Yongye was a little embarrassed when he looked at the three of them who were intact and not even their clothes were wrinkled. We should be fine. No, Fang Ping. Luo Yongye suddenly found out that his disciple Fang Ping was gone again, and said in a hurry. Hey, why should I say it again? Master, my disciple Fang Ping seems to be missing. Luo Yongye said anxiously towards Tian Xuanzi with a worried face. It's just that he hasn't finished speaking yet. Master. Fang Ping took small steps and ran over panting. I was surrounded by these bugs just now, are you all right? Fang Ping looked at the three of them with concern. Silence. Luo Yongye felt that the atmosphere was so embarrassing. We're all right, are you all right? What embarrassment is not embarrassing? Luo Yongye is of course more concerned about Fang Ping's safety. Looking at Fang Ping's body stained with some dirt, and the wrinkled clothes. Luo Yongye scolded himself secretly. I don't pay attention to Fang Ping's safety every time. At the same time, I feel very distressed for Fang Ping. Why is it that the one who suffers every time is the little disciple he loves the most? Luo Yongye glanced at Fang Ping with pity, and said to Tian Xuanzi, Master, we are all fine. Hearing this, Tian Xuanzi breathed a sigh of relief. But An Xinghua over there was instantly angrily looking at them. Why are you all okay? Why did those demonized bugs just surrounded you, but didn't attack you? You must have a problem. An Xinghua roared at Luo Yongye angrily. Why are all his disciples dead, but this guy's disciple has nothing at all? Not even a bit of skin was broken. There must be something wrong with these guys. Xinghua, what did you say? Hearing An Xinghua's unspeakable duty, Tian Xuanzi immediately scolded angrily. Master, there must be something wrong with them. An Xinghua pointed at Luo Yongye and the others. Think about it, we haven't had a monster invasion in Qingshu Mountain for many years. It's them. As soon as they came, the monsters invaded immediately. And I just saw that these monsters and bugs didn't attack them at all, they just surrounded them but didn't attack. They must have a problem, maybe it's the monsters they contacted. An Xinghua said angrily with red eyes. Hey, you said we had a problem and contacted the monsters, so what did you say we did? Seeing An Xinghua's angry expression, Fang Ping asked with a sneer. Just to kill those disciples of yours. Oh, do your disciples have such a big face? You actually need us to contact such powerful monsters to kill them. Not only your disciples have great face, but our face is also great, and can order such a powerful monster. Fang Ping sneered and sneered. Shut up, what are you? Are you here to speak? Hearing Fang Ping's words, An Xinghua's angry eyes instantly shot at Fang Ping and cursed. Then why did you talk to your master like that? Bai Manya pouted and said. Manya, it's all right, this is the teacher's uncle, you have to respect the teacher. Hearing Bai Manya's words, Luo Yongye scolded with a straight face. It's just that the focus of his sentence was on the words, respect for the teacher. You. Hearing Luo Yongye, the master and the apprentice, mocking him openly and secretly, and Xinghua's angry eyes turned even redder, and his fists clenched. I killed you. With a roar, An Xinghua directly gathered a lot of spiritual light and blasted directly at Luo Yongye and the others. Are you crazy enough? Snapped. Accompanied by an angry rebuke, a crisp voice sounded. Tian Xuanzi directly slapped An Xinghua, who was attacking Luo Yongye, to the ground. The aura gathered by Xinghua was also dissipated in an instant. I know that your disciple is dead, and you are sad, but this is not the reason why you are crazy and move towards Yongye. He is your nephew, and also my disciple of Tianxin line. Tian Xuanzi scolded Xinghua, who was knocked to the ground by him, in a heartbroken manner. After scolding Xinghua, Tian Xuanzi looked at Luo Yongye and the others. Yongye, it's not that Master Tai doesn't believe you, but do you know why those demonized bugs don't attack you? Hearing Tian Xuanzi's question, Luo Yongye nodded, stretched out his palm, and waved at the corpses of the demonized bugs on the ground next to him. Laugh. The corpses of those bugs hit by the inner chi instantly 0.1 make the sound of being corroded. In just the blink of an eye, it was completely corroded. Seeing this scene, not only Tian Xuanzi, but also Xinghua, who had just climbed up from the ground, was stunned. Those bugs didn't dare to attack us, it should be because they were too afraid of the poison in our inner chi. Luo Yongye said respectfully towards Tian Xuanzi. Heavenly heart poison. Hearing this, Tian Xuanzi frowned in confusion. Actually, we don't know much about this kind of poison, but all of a sudden, all the people in our gym who have practiced Tianxin Quan to a high level have this kind of poison in their bodies. Seeing Tian Xuanzi's doubts, Luo Yongye explained the poison of Tianxin again. It is true that it is said. After listening to Luo Yongye's explanation, Tian Xuanzi nodded. Cultivation of heaven's heart righteousness will indeed change due to changes in the external environment. After breaking through the third limit and corresponding to the promotion of monsters to the virtual realm, Tianxin Zhengfa will also have serious flaws because of this problem. Tianxin boxing is a simplified boxing technique of Tianxin Zhengfa, and it is possible that there may be this problem. Tian Xuanzi accepted Luo Yongye's explanation. He guessed that it may be because Luo Yongye and the others have been staying outside, and at this time the environment of the outside world may have undergone some changes. Ordinary people or those warriors can't sense it at all. However, they cultivated the heavenly heart righteous FA in the same vein, focusing on the heavenly heart on the upper body and the heavenly heart on the bottom, and being the most sensitive to changes in the world. That's why this strange toxin suddenly appeared in their bodies. Tian Xuanzi couldn't figure out whether this terrifying toxin was good or bad for the time being. But at least for now, this toxin can greatly enhance their strength, and there is no harm in them. As for why Heian and Xinghua did not have toxins in their bodies. Maybe, because the environment of Qingshu Mountain is completely different from the outside. Moreover, the mountain protection formation of Qingshu Mountain also completely blocks Qingshu Mountain from the outside. But these are just his guesses. Since your poison is so powerful, why didn't you come to save us just now? At this time, Xinghua stared at a few people and questioned again. Hearing Xinghua's questioning, Luo Yongye frowned. Master, it's not that we didn't want to save us just now, it's that we really couldn't make it through. But even with Luo Yongye's explanation, Xinghua still looked at several people with resentment in his eyes. He felt that these people were desperate to help his disciples. Seeing the resentment in Xinghua's eyes, Fang Ping's heart suddenly became alert. After this, Xinghua will probably play tricks on them from behind. Thinking of this, Fang Ping scolded again in his heart that all insects are really useless. Why didn't he kill this Xinghua just now? Otherwise it wouldn't be so much trouble at all. I'm not afraid of thieves stealing, but I'm afraid that thieves will miss you. It seems that in order to avoid serious problems in the future, we must find an opportunity to do him directly. Fang Ping's eyes flashed an imperceptible gleam. He didn't want to cause trouble, but he wasn't afraid of trouble either. And he used to get rid of trouble completely before it broke out. In the sky outside the Qingshu Mountain Protectorate, seeing that the dark cloud of demonic energy over Qingshu Mountain gradually dissipated, and in the layers of connected aura, the old Taoist suddenly smiled and looked at the blood-colored light group. It seems that your people should have failed. These wastes are really more than success. And the color light group was also extremely angry. But since things have failed, it will not continue to waste time here with these Taoist priests. Once again, the strange skull was sacrificed, and the strange and invisible fluctuations spread again. But this time, there are layers of spiritual protection. These Taoist priests no longer screamed like before, showing their monster characteristics. The spiritual light was rippling, and the old Taoist's face turned cold. Want to leave? Xuanling Sanhua. The sword finger stroked the cyan long sword, and the bluish-colored baby in the sword body screamed again, and the head at the navel exploded directly. Boom! In an instant, countless terrifying sword chi instantly condensed into a fierce sword, pierced through the night sky, and slashed directly at the blood-colored light group. The blood-colored light group pulled out a long blood light in the blink of an eye, and quickly flew towards the distant horizon. But in the end, he was slashed by this fierce sword, and a scream came from the blood mist. Then the blood light completely disappeared in the distant horizon. And after the bloody light completely disappeared, the old Taoist spit out a mouthful of blood in vain. "Master, are you all right?" A few people next to him saw the old Taoist vomiting blood, and immediately asked with concern. "It's okay, hurry up and check the situation of the Zunli seal." The old Taoist waved his hand and said directly. Then the group flew directly towards the place where the demonic cloud had erupted before. When this happened, Qingshu Mountain's so-called demon sealing ceremony naturally became a joke. How could it continue to be held? However, those people in Qingshu Mountain were also extremely puzzled at this time. The seal of Zunli was broken, the 2 guards were killed, and the previous suzerain of Yuan Mozong, Anjia, who was under the seal must have also escaped. But why nothing major happened? They didn't care about Wanzong, because they knew that Wanzong's function was to trap the branches and veins that were strong enough as much as possible. As for the disciples who were killed by the Sea of Worms, they didn't care. But there is no one who is undead in battle with monsters. Many predecessors of Qingshu Mountain have died in the hands of monsters. In comparison, they are more concerned about Anya's problem. Anya has been sealed by them for so long. It stands to reason that once they get out of trouble, when they are all held back by Moruo, the sect master of Yuanmo sect, they cannot leave. He will definitely retaliate wildly, slaughtering all the disciples of Qingshu Mountain. Why did it disappear without a trace at this time? Could it be that he was really eager to escape and left directly? Therefore, in the next few days, Qingshushan was investigating the reason for the infiltration of the monsters, and at the same time, he also cooperated with the special investigator to closely track the news and traces of Anya. They naturally found the gap opened by the worms of Wanzong in the Hushan Great Array. But about the news about Anya, even if the entire state machine was launched, no clues could be found. This made them extremely suspicious. In the past few days, Luo Yongye and his people were also investigated by the people from Qingshu Mountain. But they have no problem, and naturally they are not afraid of checking. And because the great demon sealing ceremony was cancelled, and Xinghua's disciples all died, Tian Xuanzi took the group directly back to the real station of Tianxin lineage in Qingshu Mountain. Looking at the somewhat barren mountain, Fang Ping's mouth twitched. Is this where we live in the heart of the world? He knew before that Tianxin's position in Qingshu Mountain was not high, and life was not easy. But I never thought it would be so miserable. Looking at the building on the main peak of Zhengyi, it is completely different, and it looks very simple and simple. Fang Ping sighed helplessly. It's just that when he looked at some place in the distance, he suddenly raised his brows, and there was a flash of surprise in his eyes. Master, where is that place? Fang Ping pointed over there and asked Tian Xuanzi. There, that is the Qingxin cave. Tian Xuanzi replied casually. Seeing that Tian Xuanzi didn't seem to want to mention the appearance of the Qingxin cave, Fang Ping was curious, but he didn't ask any further. Qingshu Mountain is very large. At least bigger than Fang Ping thought before coming in. Therefore, the resident of Tianxin Yimai is a low mountain called Tianxin Mountain. Although the location is relatively remote, the place is very wide. There are many temples and courtyards built on the mountain. A building is built along the mountain. Although it is not as grand as the buildings on the main peak of Zhengyi, it is still, quaint, simple and elegant. At this time, in the main hall of Tianxin Mountain, 3 solemn statues stand, and the hall is filled with fragrant mist. A group of disciples stood on both sides and began to hold the ceremony of the official return of Luo Yongye and others. Because all the disciples and Xinghua had brought there before had died, so there were not many people in the Tianxin lineage at this time. Tian Xuanzi was the only one left to die in his generation, and his disciple, and Xinghua's generation, was the only one left to die. In addition to the 4 disciples of Tian Xuanzi's deceased eldest disciple, a few disciples that Xinghua had not brought there before, and Luo Yongye. There are only a dozen people in the entire Tianxin lineage, which is really miserable. Then came the ceremony for Luo Yongye and the others to officially get started. But when it was Fang Ping's turn, it was much simpler. Because he was unwilling to become a monk, he was only willing to become a lay disciple in the line of Tianxin, not a disciple of the FA. The simplest difference is that to become a disciple of the FA, you basically have to stay in Qingshu Mountain all the time, and you must not leave the mountain without special things. Luo Yongye is almost alone. Bai Manya and Zhou Nan both have brothers, and they also want to pursue further strength, so after thinking about it, they all agreed. But Fang Ping didn't want to stay in Qingshu Mountain all the time. The world is so big, he still wants to see it. So he was only willing to become a lay disciple. The treatment of lay disciples is naturally not as good as that of heir disciples, and the core exercises of the Tianxin lineage will not be passed on to him. But Fang Ping doesn't matter. With his ability, he believed that he would learn it later. As for Luo Yongyi's other apprentices who are still in Haichuan, those who are willing to belong to Tianxin's lineage will be brought into Qingshu Mountain later, and those who are unwilling or not. A few days passed in a flash. Inside the bookstore, there are all kinds of Taoist classics and some basic exercises in the Tibetan Sutra building. These days, the place where Fang Ping comes most is here. Fang Ping, I'm reading this Lifa again. Don't give up eating because of choking, you can't cultivate anything. A man in his 30s looked at Fang Ping happily and smiled. The man's name was Zhang Yongqin, and he was the apprentice of Tianshuanzi's eldest disciple. Because of the relationship of seniority, except for Bai Manya and Zhou Nan, these people from the Tianxin lineage were all higher in seniority than Fang Ping. Zhang Yongqin is Fang Ping's uncle, and he is very enthusiastic. It's the kind of real enthusiasm, not the kind of enthusiasm that Wu Yongping was superficially welcoming but actually disgusted with. Uncle Zhang, I'm just curious to see. Fang Ping also said with a smile. In the past few days, because Luo Yongye, Bai Manya and the others have just obtained the follow-up exercises, they have been practicing painstakingly. Fang Ping and Zhang Yongqin knew each other very well. Okay, it's enough for you to be clear in your own mind. By the way, haven't you been curious about the birth of your heart? Fang Ping's eyes lit up when he heard the words, yes, Master Zhang is going to clear his heart. Zhang Yongqin nodded. I have been feeling restless in the last few days, and it is estimated that the residual power of the monster's flesh and blood is at work. I am going to go there in the afternoon. How about taking you there? Of course, Fang Ping responded immediately. There seems to be some kind of energy in the pure heart production that can suppress the residual power of the monster's flesh and blood in the warrior's body, so that they can continue to maintain a state of pure heart. When Fang Ping first came here, he discovered the abnormality in Qingshin Cave. Because he felt that the special energy in the Qingshin Cave seemed to be somewhat similar to the energy in the Fel energy suppressor. It was just that Tian Xuanzi was reluctant to say more at that time. The information of the Qingshin Cave, or in the past few days, he asked little by little from the mouths of Zhang Yongqin and the others. Close the thundering jade book of treasures in his hand. Fang Ping looked at the evil god modifier in front of him. Host, Fang Ping. Martial arts. Dragon Royale 3 forms. First layer, Dirt Refinement Method. Second layer, Sky Poison Art. First layer, Hunyuan Gangchi. Third layer, Dragon Elephant Immobility. Fourth layer, Burning Lamp Method. Dacheng Tianxin Zhengfa. Fourth layer, Sangwang Inner Refinement Method. Third layer, Haisha Rune Method. Third layer, Three Light Rune Method. Second layer, Tianxin Thunder Method. Not yet getting started. Origin. 11. Dirty Refinement was drooling while staring at the new Sangwang Inner Refinement. Long Shang didn't move. Looking at the two above, he was about to cry. Yulong Sanshi can't wait to rush to Haisha, Sangwang and two spells. From time to time, the Sky Poison technique looked at the Haisha talisman, and at the same time secretly looked at all the new exercises. Build walls high, store grain widely, and slowly become king. Don't worry, who will have the last laugh? Feeling the restlessness of these exercises, Fang Ping felt helpless. All of these exercises have become refined one by one. After sensing it, he found that the qi in his body was about to recover completely. Fang Ping suppressed the strong desire to devour these exercises. Don't worry, it's not a big deal to bully the small, I'll talk about it when I raise them to the perfect state. Quote. The few new martial arts exercises on the Cthulhu modifier are the exercises of the Tianxin lineage. In addition to the most basic and fundamental practice of opening the heart and rectifying the law. At present, there are 3 methods of inheritance and main practice of Tianxin Yimai. 3 Light Rune, Haisha Rune and the last Tiangong Dasheng Rune. This is not the kind of special character drawn in movies and TV dramas. These are 3 types of exercises with Fu Cheng Dharma King's Jiao. The 3 Light Rune method is to contemplate the 3 lights of the sun, the moon and the star, and to receive and guide the light into the body and gather together to form a rune. Fang Ping prefers the Haisha talisman to the Sangwang talisman, because this technique is heavier and more lethal. Open the door of heaven and close the door of the earth, and leave the door of the people to block the way of ghosts. If you wear a ghost's heart and break the ghost's belly, the sky will not tolerate it. It will kill all the evil spirits, and evil spirits. When Fang Ping saw this exercise, he knew that it was his own dish, and it was too appetizing for him. The Tiangong Great Sage Talisman is the core technique, which he cannot learn as a lay disciple. The 3 Lights Internal Refinement Law is an internal refinement method extended from the 3 Lights Rune Law. In the end, the Heavenly Heart Thunder technique, which had not yet started, was the thing that interested him the most in the past few days, except for the pure heart. This is Rafa. These existing exercises did not fall from the sky. Many of them were created by predecessors based on some martial arts that existed in the past. And because breaking through the limits of the human body requires the use of monster flesh and blood. The flesh and blood of different monsters naturally has a great influence on the cultivation technique. According to the records of some of the classics in this library, the predecessor of the Tianxin lineage, the Tianxin school was once the 3rd of the 3 major sects in ancient times. Then the world didn't know what extremely serious problem had gone wrong. Anyway, after that, all the previous martial arts exercises seemed to have become imaginary existences. Can't practice at all, not to mention the almost fairy-like effects in those classics. It was also after that, the Tianxin faction withered and finally merged into Zhengyi. It has become one of the branches of the Shengqing school in the Zhengyi 3 schools. Anyway, up to now, no one in the Tianxin lineage has been able to cultivate the thunder technique. Therefore, Zhang Yongqin and the others all regarded this Lei Fa as a Taoist scripture, and had no idea of cultivating at all. It is said that in the Taoist Holy Land in the north, someone has cultivated the method of thunder, but it seems to be done by using the flesh and blood of some powerful special monster. Thunder, all evils ward off easy. And unless it is a special monster, most of the flesh and blood of monsters are incompatible with thunder. Don't say that this thunder method can't be practiced at all now. Even if they can cultivate, it is estimated that Zhang Yongqin and the others will not dare to cultivate, because that is a slow suicide. After repairing the thunder method, it is estimated that the first person to be hacked is himself. But Fang Ping, who has the Cthulhu modifier, doesn't have this trouble. The exercises recorded in the Thundering Jade Book of Treasures indeed seem to have been imagined by the ancients. However, he is someone who has a lot of understanding of martial arts in the perfect state. It might be overdue to say that he is now the kind of martial arts master who stands tall. But in a sense, a martial arts master, he should still be enough. Out of curiosity about the legendary Lifa. Therefore, Fang Ping has been researching, sorting out and thinking about the exercises according to the ideas recorded in the Lei Ting Jade Book. In the end, after he used the 3 Light Rune method, the 3 Light Inner Refinement method, and some ideas and methods of Tianxin Zhengfa, he actually managed to sort out a thunder method. It's still the thunder method that can be recognized by the evil god modifier. The creation of this thunder method is of great significance to Fang Ping. Because this not only means that he has a thunder method, although the power of this thunder method is very weak. But AJFA, the weaker Lifa is also Lifa. Moreover, the appearance of Lei Fa provided Fang Ping with a new idea. According to their own understanding of martial arts, and the background of martial arts, they create their own exercises. Weak power is not afraid. As long as he can be recognized by the heretic god modifier, he can quickly improve the realm, and then use the source quality to further sublimate it. Fang Ping felt a little excited every time he thought of this. Of course, this does not mean that Fang Ping will not need other martial arts exercises in the future, and he will create it by himself. That is impossible. His train of thought, his thought, and his wisdom are all limited. Although the source quality can sublimate the cultivation technique, it will also be affected by his background, wisdom and thoughts. So he doesn't despise anyone's wisdom. And the success of this thunder law made him think clearly about one thing that was very important to him. His previous use of the heretic god modifier was too rough. But that is no way. After all, he had been in danger before, and he did not know when he would die. Of course, it is to use the simplest and most rude method to enhance one's own strength. But now, the original hidden danger of life and death has basically been resolved. With his current strength, he will not encounter any major life and death crisis for the time being. He may need to think more clearly about the role and meaning of God's modification to him, in order to use this golden finger more correctly and fully. From the beginning, the essence of several martial arts was combined to build the dragon prisoner. Up to now, it has created the heavenly heart lightning method. He figured out one thing, that is, every practice, martial arts and book he has learned and read, even every place he has walked, every flower he has admired, will become his heritage, broaden his horizons, broaden his thinking, and add his wisdom. And these experiences and wisdom, with the help of the key of the evil god modifier, will open really powerful doors for him. So these few days, he has been lingering in this Tibetan scripture building. In addition to arranging and thinking about Lifa, he also read a lot of Taoist classics and commentaries on various scriptures. Perhaps the sages who wrote these Taoist scriptures were far inferior to him, but their wisdom and spiritual realm are definitely far superior to Fang Ping. And as he watched and read these Taoist scriptures more and more, Fang Ping could feel that his whole person became more peaceful. The character is also more stable. He felt his heart more clearly. I was hesitant before, I should kill him as soon as possible, Fang Ping murmured softly. In the past few days, as his heart gradually calmed down, and Xinghua's previous resentful eyes often appeared in Fang Ping's mind. Look at him. What a look of resentment, what a look of resentment. He must be secretly plotting some conspiracy against him. No, he must be killed as soon as possible. Blessed life is boundless, but I can't let him destroy my peaceful state of mind. A fierce light flashed in Fang Ping's eyes, then he sighed and went back to his room. In a side room, sitting cross-legged on a futon, Fang Ping watched the new exercises on the Cthulhu modifier. His eyes were calm, and then his thoughts moved. 3 light inner refinement, Ren. 3 light rune, upgrade. Black evil spells, upgrade. With the rapid consumption of the Gang Qi that had just recovered in the body, the realm of these exercises began to increase wildly. Long Shang didn't move, and watched the few exercises coveted by the side. When the realm of these exercises all reached the perfect state, Fang Ping released the suppression of the exercises of the dragon and elephant not moving. Several exercises instantly rushed towards the hungry wolf who had been thirsty for months. For a while, there seemed to be nothing, and the illusion appeared in front of Fang Ping's eyes. In the vastness, a ferocious and violent figure roared up to the sky, a giant dragon with a miserable appearance, falling scales, and bleeding all over its body raised a terrifying power, and the dragon's roar shook the sky. A dark and evil flesh and blood aggregate wriggled with pieces of internal organs, and strange chants sounded all over its body. A mysterious black mist slowly drifted away, polluting and eroding everything around it. At this time, their eyes were all looking towards the higher sky. Greed, thirst. In the vastness, in the sky, 3 groups of brilliance hang high. The 3 lights of the sun, the moon, and the stars converge, and the dim disks of the evil fire, the moon, the yin and the stars swirl into a nebula-like object. Next to this group of evil nebulae, there is a similar group of evil light aggregates. Next to it is a surging black evil spirit, with the face of a ghost emerging and roaring. Just the next moment, this group of brilliance was directly divided by the terrifying existence that rushed up from below. The strange black mist spreads out, covering the 3 groups of brilliance, constantly polluting and eroding the core of the 3 groups of brilliance. But the next moment, the black fog was directly swept away by the violent figure. The flesh and blood organ aggregate chanted strange notes, and this violent figure rushed towards the 2 evil light stars, clouds at the same time. The bloody dragon opened its huge mouth of the blood basin and swallowed the black suffocating gas in one mouthful. The countless organs squirming in the flesh and blood aggregate opened their mouths together, and after eating most of the small evil light nebula, they were blown away by a mad sound. Roar! The back of the violent figure was suddenly torn open with several huge cracks, and then 4 more strange and thick arms drilled out. Waving 6 arms, the violent figure roared directly at the flesh and blood aggregate and the blood-splattered dragon that charged up again. The terrifying momentum runs through the world, as if it can crush everything. The wriggling organs in the flesh and blood aggregate opened their mouths wide open, and a strange sound resounded in all directions. The blood-splattered dragon even flew with scales and claws, and the dragon roared. The 3 powerful auras continued to confront and collide. After a while, the flesh and blood aggregate and the giant blood-splattered dragon were still unwilling to disappear. On the ground, in an area that was completely polluted and eroded everything, the eerie black mist looked coldly at what was happening in the air, and then changed and disappeared. Seeing the opponent retreat, the violent figure instantly burst into a loud voice. Then the remaining evil alien nebula was directly shredded and stuffed into the mouth. The illusion faded. Fang Ping squinted slightly. These martial arts are getting weirder and weirder. Thinking of the mass of organs and tissues incarnated by the dirty refinement method, the flesh and blood aggregates that split open mouths. Even Fang Ping couldn't help feeling a little chill. Haichuan. Inside a high-end club. In the dimly lit room, a young man was sitting on the sofa, holding 2 scantily clad women in his arms, and was doing something he liked. Slap. Suddenly, the light in the room was turned on at once, and the dim room instantly became brighter. The young man's brows furrowed all of a sudden, and his face was full of anger. "Didn't you see I was busy?" The young man cursed at the middle-aged man beside the door who turned on the room light. This middle-aged man with a national character face, a strong and capable figure, and wearing a simple gray dress. After seeing the young man who was about to take off his clothes and the lipstick all over his face, he frowned slightly, and there was a hint of helplessness in his eyes. "Master, that person is here," the middle-aged man said. "You let him wait and he will die. Didn't you see that I was busy?" the young man said very angrily. The middle-aged man took a deep breath and persuaded, "Master, the master asked you to come to Haichuan to sharpen your character." "I got it, okay, don't say it, can't I see it?" Hearing the middle-aged man start talking about this again, the young man immediately interrupted him even more irritably. "Come in." When the conversation was interrupted, the middle-aged man didn't mind, turned around and shouted out the door. "Hello, young Master Yuan." As soon as the middle-aged man's voice fell, a man in his 30s walked in from outside. As soon as he entered, he bowed and respectfully shouted towards the young man. "Just TM, your name is Shajia." Seeing this man, the young man let go of the woman's hand and asked arrogantly. "Yes, I am Shajia." The man replied with a flattering smile. "I heard that you want to depend on our family." Seeing Shajia's flattering smile, the young man smiled disdainfully, and asked softly while picking up the glass and pouring wine. "Yes, because the company encountered some problems. I heard that Mr. Yuan came to Haichuan, so I wanted to ask Mr. Yuan for help." Hearing this, the corners of the youth's mouth twitched slightly, and he drank the wine on his own. When he saw that Shajia was getting more and more restless, he suddenly smiled and said, "It's not impossible to help you, but I want 60% of your group's shares." "What?" Hearing this, Shajia was stunned for a moment, then after clenching his fist, he nodded with some pain. "As long as Mr. Yuan can help us solve the current problem, I will give the shares with both hands." "After all, what's the problem?" the young man asked casually. "Shajia, the companies that have been besieging us in business recently all have the shadow of Tianxin Fist Gym behind them, so I hope young Master Yuan can come forward and help block the pressure from Shin Fist Gym." The young man was stunned for a moment and looked at the middle-aged man at the door. "Tianxin Fist Gym, what is it? Why haven't I heard of it?" The middle-aged man is the one who specially protects this young man, and he already knew the situation of Haichuan clearly before he came. So when I heard the young man's question, I answered directly, "Master, Tianxin Fist Gym is a local sect in Haichuan. It was founded by a disciple of the Tianxin line of Qingshu Mountain back then. There are 3 limit-breaking warriors in the door. Because it has something to do with Qingshu Mountain, other sects will give them some face." Hearing his words, the young man immediately smiled disdainfully, and asked again, it turns out to be such a small sect. What is the status of Tianxin Yimai in Qingshu Mountain? It's not high, it's just a branch of the supreme Qing faction. The middle-aged man shook his head. Hearing this, the young man didn't care anymore. Zheng Yi will give us a bit of face for the Yuan family, let alone just a branch below it. Then the young man looked directly at Xia Jia. Go back and tell those people what I mean, those people will never dare to embarrass you again. Okay, thank you Mr. Yuan. Xia Jia was overjoyed and left the room respectfully. In the corridor, after leaving the room, Xia Jia straightened up, and the flattery on his face disappeared. Xia Jia was originally Yuan Bawei's subordinate. After Yuan Bawei's death, he obeyed Jin Chanman's orders and took over Yuan Bawei's group. However, because of the collapse of Jin Chanman before, their lives were not very good, and various businesses were constantly crowded and encircled by many companies in Haichuan. Therefore, after knowing that the son of the Yuan family came to Haichuan, he immediately sought a backer. Thinking of the suffocation during this time, Xia Jia suddenly snorted coldly. HMPH, this time with the Yuan family, I see if you guys dare to join forces against me. Inside the room, after Xia Jia left, the young man's hands immediately embraced the two women again. Master, I think it's better to be a little more restrained. The patriarch will definitely pay attention to your situation during this time. Seeing the young man who started to have fun again, the middle-aged man softly persuaded him. Enough, can you stop so much nonsense? I have worked hard in the provincial capital for so many years, and now I have been sent to such a ghost place. I'm not allowed to enjoy myself yet. Hearing the persuasion of the middle-aged man, the young man was even more upset and scolded him directly. The middle-aged man sighed and left the room anyway. Inside the room, Fang Ping carefully sensed the situation of his various exercises. Yulong Sanshi devoured the Hai Sharun, and its aggression became more vicious. The internal organs refining method devoured most of the three light internal refining methods, and the strengthening of internal organs became more tenacious. And the dragon elephant does not move to swallow a small part of the three light inner refining method and the three light rune method, and the density of Fang Ping's body becomes stronger. Especially those acupoints and big mouths in the body seemed to have a hazy evil light. Only the sky poison art didn't seem to have changed. But in the previous illusion, Fang Ping clearly saw that the black mist pollution from the incarnation of the sky poison art had eroded into the core of the three exercises. Raising his brows, Fang Ping always felt that Tiandugong was doing things in secret. It's just that the dragon elephant doesn't move. It seems that they don't pay attention to its movements at all because they don't see the heavenly poison art. Host, Fang Ping, Martial Arts, Dragon Royale 3 forms first layer, Dirt Refinement Method, second, 960, layer, Sky Poison Art, first layer, Hunyuan Gangchi, third layer, Dragon Elephant Immobility, fourth layer, Burning Lamp Method, Dacheng Tianxin Zhengfa, fourth layer, Tianxin Thunder Method, not getting started. Origin, 11. The Cthulhu modifier has once again become the previous exercises. But Fang Ping knew very well that his strength was a bit stronger than before. Suddenly, Fang Ping's eyes became sharp, and he looked directly at a bamboo basket in the corner of the wall. A trace of enchanting demonic energy rose from one of the clothes in the bamboo basket. Swa! Fang Ping's hand instantly burst into a white light, and the whole bamboo basket was completely wrapped. This is the interior of Qingshu Mountain. If someone finds out that there is a ray of demonic energy here, then it's not clear. In particular, that in Xinhua will never miss this opportunity. He had suspected that these people had colluded with monsters before. If he caught this opportunity, he would definitely take the opportunity to frame him. In the fierce white light, the fierce aura that belongs to the primordial Gangchi instantly shreds the entire bamboo basket and the clothes inside. Then a ball of toilet paper that had been completely dyed green appeared in the white light. Fang Ping raised his brows when he saw this ball of toilet paper. Isn't this the paper I used to wipe my hands after I killed that Anya? How did it become like this? He remembered that he deliberately went back and picked up this ball of paper. It was just that when he wiped his hands, he clearly remembered that there was not so much green blood on the paper. Bai Guang wrapped the ball of paper and flew back to Fang Ping's hands. I saw that ball of toilet paper, now completely occupied by strange green blood. Even those green blood is still spreading towards the surroundings, a little toilet paper. I saw a small green snake that looked like a thin line inside the toilet paper. Dark Ka. Fang Ping's eyes narrowed slightly. In this little green snake, there is only one very chaotic, weak consciousness full of bloodthirsty. It shouldn't be that Anya was resurrected with the help of these blood. But seeing just the little blood on his hands, within a few days, he can self-proliferate and condense such a small green snake. Fang Ping couldn't help but sigh again at the powerful vitality of monsters. Compared with monsters, human life is too fragile and too easy to perish. But at this time, looking at the little green snake in his hand, a green light suddenly flashed in his eyes. Fang Ping's mouth suddenly pursed slightly. Exactly, I'm still thinking about how to kill that Xinhua, isn't that the case now? Poisoning is no good, Tian Xuanzi already knew their poison. Killing directly in secret is not enough. In this short period of time, Qingshu Mountain is being closely searched inside and outside. If Xinhua died suddenly, there is no guarantee that no one would suspect them. And these blood belonging to Angia in front of him can just be used. No one knew that Anya killed him, so they would not suspect him. And this blood has little effect on Fang Ping. But that's because Fang Ping's strength and body are too strong. As the previous suzerain of Yuan Mozong, Angia's strength is definitely not only at the soul level. When he was killed by Fang Ping at the time, it was because he had been sealed for too long and was too weak, so his strength was only below the soul level. Use him to deal with Xinhua, a person whose strength is considered to be average among the second-time limit-breaking warriors. Absolutely more than enough. Call. I saw a cold flame ignited in Fang Ping's hand instantly. The flames were burning, the toilet paper, the blood, and the green snake that had just condensed, all shrinking in the flames. At the end, the flame went out, and a green dot the size of an ant appeared on Fang Ping's fingertips. Feeling the mysterious power that was compressed to the extreme, a smile appeared on Fang Ping's face. Dong dong dong. At this moment, there was a knock on the door. When I opened the door, I saw Zhang Yongchen standing outside. Let's go, I'm going to Qingxin Cave now. Zhang Yongchen's face was a little irritated. It is good. Feeling that Zhang Yongchen's body was obviously more restless than usual, Fang Ping responded directly. It seems that he was affected by the residual power of the monster's flesh and blood. There is indeed some weight. Then the two walked to the Qingxin Cave. Just when they were about to walk down Tianxin Mountain, they suddenly encountered Xinhua, who had just returned. Hello, Uncle Tai. Zhang Yongchen shouted, and Fang Ping, who was beside him, also smiled and bowed respectfully and shouted. Only when he bent down, an imperceptible little green dot fell on Xinhua's neck. Humph. Seeing the two greeting each other, especially when he saw Fang Ping, and Xinhua gave him a cold look, then snorted and threw his sleeves away. The two continued to walk down the mountain, and Xinhua in the back watched Fang Ping descending the mountain with a cold look on his face. He went to Zhengdao this time, and found a friend to explain his suspicions about Luo Yongye and others. In the past few days, as long as he thought that all the disciples he had brought over had died, Luo Yongye and the others were unscathed. The more he thought about it, the more angry he became. Are those monsters afraid of poison? It's clear that you people are already in tune with the monsters, so the strange and violent poison is definitely given to you by the monsters. Even if Luo Yongye and the others are not killed this time, they will definitely not feel better. And Xinhua thought both proudly and resentfully. Just thinking about, why does my neck feel a little itchy? At this time, Tianxin Mountain is down. Although Zhang Yongchen was a little irritable, he was not comforting Fang Ping. Fang Ping, you don't need to pay too much attention to Uncle An's attitude, he has always been like this, and it's not much better for us. Fang Ping smiled and said that he was fine. Don't worry, Master Zhang, I'm fine. Grand Master is an elder, how could I be angry with my elders and care about these things? Hearing this, Zhang Yongchen looked at Fang Ping and let out a heartfelt sigh. Fang Ping, you are such a nice guy. Hearing this, Fang Ping smiled even brighter. Yes, I am a good person, how could I care about this with him? I just want him to die. In Qingshu Mountain. This is the Qingxin Cave. Standing in an empty field, Fang Ping stared at the huge sky pit in front of him with a shocked expression. Right. Seeing the shock on Fang Ping's face, Zhang Yonggen smiled and nodded. I saw that there was a huge sky pit in front of the two. Looking around, the width is at least a few hundred meters, and as for the depth of the Tianqing, it is estimated to be nearly 100 meters. On the walls of the pit around the Tianqing, one after another was dug out artificially, and the caves circled downward one by one. At this point some of the cave entrances have been closed and someone should be in them. Is it natural? Looking at this huge Tianqing, sensing the ubiquitous special energy in the Tianqing, Fang Ping asked in surprise. No matter how he looked at it, he felt that the Tianqing in front of him did not seem to have formed naturally. Instead, it's more like, was blown up. Of course not. Zhang Yongqin shook his head. Didn't you say before that when you asked the master, he only told you his name, but he didn't want to say more? Do you know why? Fang Ping shook his head. Because of the formation of this Qingxin cave, it is a shame for everyone in Qingshu Mountain. Shame? Fang Ping gave Zhang Yongqin a surprised look. Zhang Yongqin nodded, yes. At the time, the country arrested and killed many martial artists who ignored the law and acted excessively, and finally forced many Taoist martial artists in the south to gather in Qingshu Mountain, and gradually formed Qingshu Mountain, which now gathers many branches and factions. You know. Fang Ping raised his brows. I know about this. The formation of the Qingxin cave has something to do with it. Zhang Yongqin sighed and smiled. Forget it, although many Taoist martial artists were forced to gather in Qingshu Mountain at that time, many of them were not convinced. After all, after their strength, no one likes to be restrained. Afterwards, because of a very bad incident, Yuan Mozong gathered several powerful monsters to invade Qingshu Mountain. This is where the two sides fought. Zhang Yongqin pointed to the Tianqing in front of him. So this sinkhole was caused by the war between the two sides? Fang Ping asked in surprise. No. Zhang Yongqin shook his head again. Fang Ping suddenly strangled his heart. Can you not speak half of it? Do you know that people who listen like this are very uncomfortable? Seeing Fang Ping's curious expression and wanting to know the answer, Zhang Yongqin suddenly laughed. This little nephew is really happy. Master Zhang, it's easy for you to have no friends like this, you know that. Looking at Zhang Yongqin who was looking straight at him, Fang Ping said speechlessly. Ha ha ha. Hearing this, Zhang Yongqin laughed even louder. But this time, I did not stop talking. At that time, due to some reasons, the power of the J sect was extremely powerful. After the two sides fought for a period of time, Qingshu Mountain gradually lost to the enemy, and finally the country took action. Fang Ping was stunned. Country? Yes, at that time, Qingshu Mountain was gradually lost to the enemy. After the special mediation and contact with Qingshu Mountain, many seniors of Qingshu Mountain paid a heavy price and forcibly trapped the monsters of Yuan Mozong here temporarily, and then the country launched a fire here. A terrifyingly powerful nuclear bomb. Bang! Zhang Yongqin made an explosion gesture with both hands. The terrifying power of the nuclear bomb instantly killed all the monsters trapped here, and also killed all the dissatisfaction in the hearts of those warriors in Qingshu Mountain at that time. That's all the warriors, not only the warriors of Qingshu Mountain. For the first time, I saw how powerful the power of technology is. Since then, Yuan Mozong has suffered heavy losses, and those who have been hunted by special mediators have fled, and at the same time, no martial artist organization or sect has dared to oppose the country. After listening to Zhang Yongqin's words, Fang Ping looked at the Tianqing in front of him even better. Just thinking about it, he can probably think of the scene at that time. Those old antiques, who had always relied on their own strength and did not accept the constraints of the state, saw technology and the terrifying power of nuclear bombs for the first time. It is estimated that confidence was directly blown away. Dissatisfied, so can you handle this? If you can't bear it, just listen to me honestly. And thinking about it this way, Fang Ping suddenly felt that the purpose of the country's launch of nuclear bombs at that time was other than to destroy the monsters of the Yuan demon sect. It may also be accompanied by killing chickens to show the monkeys, to shock Qingshu Mountain and all other warriors. Awesome. At the same time that Fang Ping felt vigilant in his heart for the country. Still have to keep going. With his current strength, he would never be able to withstand the power of a nuclear bomb. Although it took time for the nuclear bomb to launch, he was able to take the opportunity to escape. But the country is not a fool. It will definitely be like dealing with those monsters. People will force him to be trapped. At that time, he can only resist the nuclear bomb. Thinking of this, Fang Ping froze in his heart. If you don't have enough strength, if you can't compete with the country. Fang Ping kept admonishing himself in his heart. Do you know why this place is called Qingxin Birth? At this time, after watched the shock on Fang Ping's face gradually calm down, Zhang Yongqin asked again. Didn't you tell me before? Because the special energy here can suppress the residual power of monsters. Fang Ping looked at Zhang Yongqin strangely, and the reason was what he told him before. Not only for this reason, but also because the seniors of Qingshu Mountain want to warn many disciples that before they have the power to resist this kind of terrifying explosion, they should not think about what they have, and they should cultivate honestly, right way. That's why this place is called Qingxin Cave. Fang Ping couldn't help laughing when he heard the words. Well, the reason is strong. I'm going down, do you want to go down with me and feel it? Of course. Fang Ping's eyes lit up. The two walked down the path that spiraled down the wall of the pit. Fang Ping felt the special energy that was gradually getting thicker in the surrounding air, and his eyes narrowed slightly. Knowing the reason for the formation of the Qingxin Cave, he naturally had guesses about this special energy. After the nuclear bomb explodes, what will remain for so many years? There is only one answer. Nuclear radiation. Qingshu Mountain is still so beautiful at night. The stars are shining, the stars are shining. Fang Ping stood in front of the windowsill, looking at the starry night sky. Regardless of whether that special energy is nuclear radiation or not, it can be absorbed by me just like the evil energy inhibitor. Thinking of the special energy that pervades the Qingxin Cave Tianqing, especially the special energy that gets stronger as it goes to the bottom of the pit, Fang Ping's face shows a smile. That amount of energy should be enough for him to improve several exercises. After accompanying Zhang Yongqin to Qingxin giving birth this afternoon, Fang Ping discovered it very keenly. Although the special energy in the Tianqing permeates the air, but he can still absorb it. It's just that the speed of absorbing energy is not as fast as drinking Fel energy inhibitor. But that's fine. With that energy, his strength can continue to improve. How about taking some time? What? Just as Fang Ping was immersed in the joy of being able to improve his strength immediately, a cry instantly broke the silence of the night. Fang Ping's eyes instantly turned to the direction from which the cry came. Even at night, a surging demonic energy could still be seen erupting into the sky. Almost as soon as the demonic energy erupted, Fang Ping heard countless noises. First, in the residence of Tianshuanzi on Tianxin Mountain, which was just a short distance away, a ray of light instantly rushed towards the location where the demonic energy erupted. Afterwards, all the places in the distance directly rushed out a few rays of light, piercing the night sky, and galloping in the direction of Tianxin Mountain. Looking at the location where the demonic energy erupted, Fang Ping's mouth twitched slightly. Calculate the time, it's almost. Afterwards, Fang Ping also left the side room and rushed over there. Although Fang Ping doesn't study poisonous skills very much. But at any rate, he is sitting on the sky poison art formed after the sublimation of the source material. He can use some small means in the demonic power that belongs to Anya, which is compressed to the extreme. Is it reasonable to? Tianxin Mountain, outside An Xinghua's residence. I saw An Xinghua raised his body and screamed constantly. And on his neck, a hydra with the thickness of a thigh grew. The whole body is a monster green, the lower body is still in the bulging flesh and blood of An Xinghua's neck, and the 9 snake heads on the upper body are constantly swinging and flying. A hissing sound came from the mouths of those snakeheads. An evil demonic energy erupted from the body of the half-hydra, and also from An Xinghua's body. And it seems that because of the influence of the hydra that grew out of his neck, the characteristics of those monsters belonging to An Xinghua himself began to appear uncontrollably at this time. Even getting worse. A dense layer of thin scales with psychedelic power appeared on his hands, as well as on his face. His eyes became the same snake pupils as the hydra. 2 fangs gradually grew out of his mouth. Roar. And Xinghua, whose eyes were already confused, raised his head to the sky and let out a roar like a roar of a beast. A stench of poisonous gas diffused from the fangs of his mouth. At this time, An Xinghua looked almost like a monster. Xinghua, you. With a bang, a ray of light fell rapidly, revealing the figure of Tian Xuanzi. Looking at An Xinghua at this time, Yin Xuanzi's face was full of disbelief. Master, seeing Tian Xuanzi, and Xinghua's eyes flashed a look of struggle and pain, and he opened his mouth to say something. He didn't want to become a monster. He didn't know why he suddenly became like this, he just wanted his master to save him now. But right now, more people who heard the movement came. Among them, there are 3 Luo Yongye. The moment he saw Luo Yongye's 3 people, and Xinghua's snake pupil instantly expanded. Countless resentment, hatred, and anger instantly occupied his eyes. It also instantly drowned his remaining sanity that was still struggling. Kill them, kill them, kill them. There seemed to be a voice full of bewitching power beside his ears, resounding in his heart. As Xinghua gradually and completely sank into anger and hatred, the demonic energy that erupted from his body became even more agitated. The half-headed snake that grew out of his neck was even more excited and fluttered its 9 heads. The remaining half seems to be still in the flesh and blood of Xinghua's neck, the snake body that has not yet grown, in the demonic energy and Xinghua's countless resentment and hatred. Constantly growing out. As the snake's body grew out, the hydra became even more excited. Demonic energy surged around Nkahua. The demonic characteristics of Xinghua's body became more and more obvious, and the demonic energy he exuded became stronger and stronger. Under the induction of Hydra and the cultivation of his own endless hatred, Xinghua actually began to transform towards monsters on the spot. Kill! With a roar, Xinghua, whose eyes were full of resentment, rushed towards Luo Yongye and the 3 who had just arrived. Boom! The next moment, Xinghua, who rushed over, was instantly slapped by Tian Xuanzi, who was full of spiritual light. You still protect him, you are partial, you just never value me. Xinghua, who was shot flying, got up instantly. Seeing Tianshuanzi protecting Luo Yongye, Xinghua's mind instantly reappeared in Tianshuanzi's eccentric behavior towards Luo Yongye's father. What followed was Tian Xuanzi's favoritism towards Luo Yongye and others. All of this made Xinghua even more angry. He hated Luo Yongye's father, Luo Yongye, and Tian Xuanzi. He hates everything in front of him. Since these things make him hate so much, then destroy them all. Xinghua's demonization became more serious, and he was completely overwhelmed by anger, and he actually directly killed Tian Xuanzi. Boom! A more powerful aura flickered, and Xinghua was instantly suppressed by Tian Xuanzi. The huge gap in strength cannot be made up by such a short period of magic. Xinghua, how did you become like this? Tian Xuanzi looked at his palm with a heart-wrenching expression, and said Xinghua, who was suppressed by layers of talisman and spiritual light. Facing Xinghua, his only remaining disciple at this time, and the only surviving disciple. Tian Xuanzi could not hold back after all, and at the last moment showed mercy and did not directly kill Xinghua, who was constantly demonized. Roar! Xinghua struggled constantly, and the hydra that had almost grown out of his neck was even more frantically hitting the aura in Tian Xuanzi's hand. Swish! At this time, several rays of light broke through the night sky. When the leader saw the hydra on the neck of Xinghua, who had been suppressed by Tian Xuanzi's subordinates, his pupils instantly shrank. 9-headed devil snake, this is the characteristic of Anya's monster. This person turned out to be a blood descendant of Anya. This thought flashed in his mind instantly, and the Taoist raised the long sword in his hand without any hesitation. Tianshuanzi, get out of the way. Accompanied by the man's cold shout, a powerful sword chi shot out in an instant. Seeing this sword energy, Tian Xuanzi subconsciously wanted to help his disciple to block it. But thinking of Xinghua's situation at this time, and then thinking of his disciples and grandchildren, Tian Xuanzi sighed in his heart and took a step back. Boom! The moment the sword chi hit, most of Xinghua's body exploded. The hydra, which soon grew completely, lost 7 heads. The remaining 2 snake heads took Xinghua's head and part of his body, encircling the demonic energy and flying towards the distance. The next second, a figure ran up from below. Monster! Where to escape? Looking at Xinghua, who was flying towards him, Fang Ping greeted him directly with some fear on his face and a determination not to fear death. Black evil spells. Fang Ping, the good kings, shouted loudly and pointed his fingers. Several black lights, like sharp swords, struck Xinghua's body directly, and was hit by the black evil rune light wearing a ghost heart and a ghost belly. With a bang, Xinghua's body instantly exploded. Only the seriously injured green snake with only 2 heads left turned its direction. The next moment, the strange green strip was instantly extinguished by a sword light. The Haisha talisman is well used, and you are also a disciple of Tianxin. Then the Taoist fell from the sky, looked at Fang Ping with a righteous face and asked. Yes, Fang Ping replied without being humble or arrogant. Looking at Fang Ping, there was a hint of admiration in this man's eyes. You did a good job just now. Hearing this, Fang Ping's figure became taller and he said decisively. It is my duty to destroy monsters. It is good. Hearing this, the Taoist shouted, and his expression clearly appreciated Fang Ping even more. The heavy people around looked at Fang Ping with a righteous face, and they also expressed a kind of admiration. Only Luo Yongye, Bai Manya and Zhou Nan, the 3 most familiar with Fang Ping, looked at him with a strange look. The next day, Tianxin Mountain. Because of An Xinghua's incident last night, Tian Xuanzi seemed to have been hit hard. Will be a little depressed. Last night, his only remaining disciple also died. Tian Xuanzi has always paid no attention to the so-called 8 sufferings of life in Buddhism. But at this time, he really realized what is called the suffering of life. The eldest disciple's talent was amazing, his cultivation progressed by leaps and bounds, and even surpassed him for a time. In the end, because of the shortcomings of Tianxin's cultivation method, he became mad, and in order not to become a monster, he committed suicide. The 3rd disciple had a forthright temperament and was most loved by him, but because of his anger, he left the mountain gate, died of old age, and was unable to meet him until his death. Now, the last 2nd disciple, because of his jealous character, eventually hurt others and himself, and died in front of him. The 3 apprentices he took in his life all died. Birth, old age, sickness and death, resentment will meet, love parting, cannot ask. This life is 8 hardships, and he has almost tasted it all over the place. If it weren't for the fact that he was a member of the Taoist sect, he would have wanted to shave his hair and become a monk. So early this morning, Tian Xuanzi completely handed over all the affairs of the Tianxin line to the great disciple, Zhang Yongchen. I went up to the top of Tianxin Mountain, and went into seclusion to think about ways to solve the defects of Tianxin Yimai. From then on, Zhang Yongchen took care of everything in the Tianxin line. In the main hall of Tianxin Mountain. What, are you going to Qingxin Cave to retreat and meditate? In the morning, Zhang Yongchen, who had just taken over all the affairs of Tianxin Yimai from Tian Xuanzi, looked at Fang Ping in surprise. Luo Yongye and the others on the side also looked at Fang Ping with great concern. Fang Ping nodded with a deep expression and sighed. It may be because of the battle with that monster that I was affected by those demonic energy. The residual power of the monster's flesh in my body seems to have begun to affect my body and will. From last night until now, I have been feeling unsteady, restless, almost going crazy, so I think I need to go to the Qingxin Cave to meditate and retreat to stabilize my mind for a while. And just in time, I can feel that my strength should make a breakthrough again, so I just took this opportunity to retreat and make a breakthrough. Hearing Fang Ping's words, Zhang Yongchen nodded to show his understanding. But because I have a good relationship with Fang Ping, I thought about it and reminded. You can go to the Qingxin Cave to retreat, but you must pay attention to your physical changes at all times. Although the power in Qingxin Cave can suppress the power of monsters in your body, it is actually harmful to the human body. Our warriors are tyrannical, and it's fine in a short time, but if you stay for a long time, your body will also be damaged. In the most severe cases, it may even lead to distortions in the body. This has happened to someone before, you must pay attention. Zhang Yongchen looked at Fang Ping with a serious look and said. Don't worry, Master Zhang, I will keep an eye on it. Fang Ping nodded in response. Afterwards, Fang Ping said a few words to Luo Yongye and the others, and then went directly to the Qingxin Cave. He couldn't wait to improve his strength. Go down the trail on the pit wall. Along the way, you can see that some of the caves in the pit wall next to the trail have closed their doors. Obviously even the people in Qingshu Mountain are Taoist disciples. But it will still be affected by the flesh and blood of monsters. A creature like a monster is really unreasonable. Following the trail, Fang Ping came to the bottom of the Tianqing. There are 5 caves here. 3 of the caves have been closed. Fang Ping went straight into a cave and closed the cave door. The light gradually diminished, and the cave gradually became silent in darkness. In the next second, a pair of eyes emitting a pale light appeared in the darkness. Finding the futon in the cave and sitting down, Fang Ping looked at the evil god modifier in front of him. Host: Fang Ping. Martial Arts. Dragon Royale 3 forms. First layer, Dirt Refinement Method. Second layer, Sky Poison Art. First layer, Hunyuan Gangchi. Third layer, Dragon Elephant Immobility. Fourth layer, Burning Lamp Method. Dacheng Tianxin Zhengfa. Fourth layer, Tianxin Thunder Method. Not getting started. Origin. 11. Sensing the strong special energy in the surrounding air. Looking at the cultivation technique on the Cthulhu modifier, it is still the last Tianxin lightning technique created by him. Fang Ping's mouth was slowly drawn up. In the darkness, his eyes became brighter and brighter. Cthulhu modifier, let me see what step you can do. The astral chi in the body began to decrease rapidly. The energy in the surrounding air began to pour into his body rapidly. And his cultivation technique began to improve rapidly. Haichuan, a meeting room in a commercial AJBD office building. Several people are having a meeting with frowning faces. Everyone kept smoking cigarettes, lighting one after another. The smoke wafting from the conference room became thicker and thicker. I really didn't expect that the younger brother of the Yuan family had just come to Haichuan, and Shajia would have approached him so quickly. With the Yuan family behind us, let's give up our actions against Hongchang Group. Bai Manya's father, Bai Xiaojun, smothered the cigarette in his hand and said slowly with a face full of unwillingness. Just a few more days, or even give them 3 or 4 more days. They will be able to completely destroy Shajia's Hongchang Group, swallow all the fat in their mouths, and let their respective companies and groups go further. But they never thought that the son of the Yuan family would suddenly come to Haichuan. And Shajia really flattered him so quickly. Bai Xiaojun was the one who knew how strong the Yuan family was. Even if only apart, they are not able to fight. Don't you mean that these warriors generally don't interfere with our ordinary people's affairs? Fang Shuiliang was a little puzzled and asked unwillingly. His expression is a little haggard, these days, in order to be able to grab various businesses from the Hongchang Group. He was so busy that he couldn't sleep for a few hours every day, so he had to deal with various things. So let him now come to the door and give up, really not reconciled. Brother Fang, I know you are unwilling, so why should I, but the family is indeed not something we can fight against. Even if all of us here are added together, they will not be the opponents of the Yuan family. The Yuan family is too strong in terms of martial artists, business and officialdom, and against them, even if we succeed in winning the Hongchang Group, it will definitely not be worth the loss. Also, you don't think about yourself, you have to think about your son Fang Ping. My daughter and your son are brothers and sisters, and they are both in Sejong province. After all, they will deal with the Yuan family. Should they be targeted by the Yuan family for no reason at that time? Bai Xiaojun looked at the unwilling Fang Shuiliang and persuaded him. Hearing this, Fang Shuiliang exhaled heavily, rubbed his face vigorously, then fell back and leaned on the back of the office chair. Then forget it. Although winning the Hongchang Group will allow his company to further develop rapidly, but thinking of his son, Fang Shuiliang chose to give up. On the other side, Building C of Hongchang Group. Mr. Shaw, Bai Xiaojun's group has suspended their actions against us. It seems that they are also afraid of the Yuan family, and I believe they will completely give up their actions against us soon. A man looked at Shajia excitedly and said, "Oh, give up." But after hearing his words, Shajia sneered. They give up, shall we forget it? Next, we are no longer afraid of them, but they are afraid of us. I don't just want them to spit out everything they eat, I want to kill them completely. Now, we are attacking, they are defending. Thinking of the humiliation during this period, and the amount of money and company business that I lost. Shajia's face became a little grim. Night, Fang Shuiliang was driving home. At this time, his brows were deeply furrowed, his brows were frowning, and his eyes were even more bloodshot. In the past 2 days, because of the existence of the Yuan family, they gave up the siege against the Hongchang Group. But at this time, the Hongchang Group, relying on the influence of the Yuan family, directly began to counterattack them. In the business world, the double pressure on Yimian forced their companies to suffer serious losses. And Fang Shuiliang's company, because the expansion was too fast before, was suddenly hit, and the business loss was serious. Those who have signed the contract before, all abandoned the contract. Even though he has been looking for various solutions for the past 2 days, it still has no effect. The capital chain is close to breaking, and his company is about to go bankrupt. Fang Shuiliang patted the steering wheel angrily. Beep. Just then, a bright light suddenly lit up from the front. I saw a truck coming towards him in front of him suddenly changed lanes and rammed straight towards him at an extremely fast speed. Fang Shuiliang was so frightened that he immediately turned the steering wheel to avoid it, but he still did not dodge. Boom! Tianxin Mountain. Bai Manya eagerly found Luo Yongye, and then the two went directly to Zhang Yongchen. I'm faster than you, I'll go find Fang Ping. Hearing the news from Bai Manya, Zhang Yongchen immediately rushed towards the direction of Qingxin Cave. Sister, what happened? At this time, Zhou Nan, who had no idea what was going on, looked at Bai Manya and asked in a puzzled way. My father called me just now, saying that it was junior brother Fang's father who had a car accident and is still in a coma with serious injuries, and his condition is very bad. Bai Manya frowned and replied. What? Hearing this, Zhou Nan was also shocked. Bai Manya was deeply wrinkled, in fact, she still didn't say a word. That is, his father also said that Fang Ping's father's car accident was very strange, and the truck driver who hit Fang's father's car honestly turned himself in. The whole thing seemed too smooth. Clear Heart Cave. At this time, in the Qingxin Cave, that kind of pervasive special energy has become somewhat rare. And this situation also made many Qingshu Mountain disciples who were retreating in the cave have no choice but to end their departure ahead of schedule. Therefore, there are not many people who are still in seclusion in the Qingxin Cave at this time. Zhang Yongchen, who looked a little anxious, quickly searched all the way, and soon reached the bottom of the pit. First, he knocked on the other door at the bottom of the pit, which was still closed, causing the disciple inside to scold him angrily. Then Zhang Yongchen came to the cave where Fang Ping retreated. After knocking on the door a few times, the cave door slammed open. An extremely hot mist surged out of the cave. In the scorching mist, an unusually tall figure gradually approached. Then a pair of eyes that seemed to be flickering with countless electric lights appeared in the fog. Ah! Seeing these twinkling eyes, Zhang Yongchen's body trembled instantly. I felt my whole body go numb. Uncle Zhang, are you looking for me in such a hurry? Is there any urgency? The urn sounded, and the incomparably thick and dull voice sounded, like a muffled thunder. The sound of beating drums made Zhang Yongchen's heart beat. Junior brother Fang, senior nephew Manya received a call from her father just now. After confirming that the person inside was Fang Ping, Zhang Yongchen immediately said. Only halfway through, seeing the gradually revealed Fang Ping after the fog dissipated, he was completely stunned. His face was full of shock, and his eyes were wide open. Following his gaze, he saw Fang Ping's figure that was nearly 2 meters taller than he was clearly visible in the mist that had almost dissipated. The muscles that swelled like explosions, knots and knots were like steel, and the muscle lines squeezed out of the crowded muscles looked both rough and sharp. It is like a megalithic sculpture carved out of different techniques. The tall figure and exploding muscles made Fang Ping look like a hill at this time. And the sturdy arms and wide palms instantly reminded Zhang Yongchen of a sentence. He can run horses on his arms and stand on his fists. What did the sister's father say on the phone? The lightning in his eyes gradually subsided. Fang Ping looked at Zhang Yongchen and asked suspiciously. Oh, say it was your father who had a car accident, and things may not be very good now. Zhang Yongchen recovered from the shock of Fang Ping's stature change and replied immediately. It's just that he was more euphemistic, afraid that the news would stimulate Fang Ping too much. Call. It's just that as soon as his voice fell, he suddenly felt a huge force suddenly appear in his chest, and then the world was spinning in front of him. What did you say? Grabbing the clothes on Zhang Yonggen's chest and raising it in front of his eyes, Fang Ping asked with a cold face. The incomparably thick voice was like a muffled thunder blasting in him. Zhang Yongchen only felt that the whole person was dizzy at this time, and the surrounding air seemed to be stagnant, making him feel that it was very difficult to breathe. But when he met Fang Ping's cold eyes, 0. Zhang Yongqin only felt that a basin of ice water fell head-on towards him in an instant, and the whole person suddenly woke up from the somewhat dizzy state just now. His heart contracted sharply, and his whole body trembled uncontrollably. Say your father, there was a car accident, the situation may not be very good. Zhang Yongqin met Zhang Yongping's gaze, stammered, and answered tremblingly. Swa. As soon as the voice fell, Zhang Yongqin felt a flash in front of his eyes, and then his body lightened. The whole person fell directly to the ground. Fang Ping disappeared in the cave, and the heaviness that seemed to be stagnant in the air also disappeared. Zhang Yongqin glanced outside in horror, gasping for breath. At this time, Bai Manya was talking to Zhou Nan and Luo Yongye about what happened to Fang's father. Several people looked worried, but in the next moment, a dull gas explosion sounded instantly. Then came a strong gust of wind. Call. The broad robes on the three of them danced and hunted in the strong wind. Bai Manya's long hair fluttered back crazily. When the three of them came back, Fang Ping's tall and sturdy figure had already appeared in front of them. Senior sister, what happened to my father? A muffled voice sounded in the ears of the three of them. Chapter 91. On a high-speed train bound for Haichuan. Fang Ping sat with a cold expression, exuding a dangerous aura that no strangers should enter. The passengers around looked at Fang Ping's tall body and the cold and suppressed aura. Don't talk about getting close to him. They even dared to whisper softly. When leaving the seat to go to the toilet, he was very careful, for fear of making a loud noise and angering Fang Ping. Host. Fang Ping. Martial Arts. Yulong Sanshi, First Layer, Prison Dragon Exercise, First Layer, Yuanwang Gangsha, First Layer, Dongshuan Tianxin Thunder Dafa, First Layer, Burning Lamp Method, Dacheng, Sky Poison Art, First Floor. Origin. 0. Looking at the martial arts on the Evil God modifier in front of him, Fang Ping's eyes did not change. With the energy of the Qingxin Cave, Fang Ping improved several of his important 277 exercises. The primordial astral qi is raised to perfection, consumes 3 elements, and sublimates and evolves the primal desolate astral. After the dragon elephant did not move up to reach perfection, after all, it still swallowed the dirty refining method that was also elevated to perfection. Consumes 5 elemental quality to improve the deduction of the prison dragon dynamic body. The heavenly heart thunder technique has been improved to a complete success. After consuming 1 point of origin quality, the cultivation technique will swallow the heavenly heart righteous FA, and continue to improve it to perfection. Consuming 2 element quality points will deduce the heavenly heart thunder Dafa. So far, Fang Ping has a feeling that his martial arts understanding and background have been exhausted. But at the same time, his strength has also been improved almost terribly. Even he himself does not know how terrifying his current strength is. However, he could vaguely feel that he now seems to have reached a node of shackles. Breaking the shackles of this realm, he will touch a new world that he could not touch before. He tried to break through the shackles of the realm that hindered him. But the shackles of this realm were unexpectedly firm and insurmountable. He needs more powerful strength to break through this shackles. But at this time, Zhang Yongqin brought the news that Fang's father was seriously injured in a car accident and was in a coma. Thinking of this, Fang Ping's eyes flashed a fierce light. The temperature in the entire compartment seemed to plummet in an instant, and all the passengers in the compartment shuddered. It's still careless, we should arrange some means on him as soon as possible to protect his safety. Taking a deep breath, Fang Ping took out his phone and called Jin Feng directly. I need the truth about my father's car accident. After connecting, Fang Ping said quietly with a calm expression. Bai Manya had told him about Father Bai's suspicions before, suspecting that there was something wrong with Father Fang's car accident. And Jin Feng on the other end of the phone was originally in a leisurely way to deal with some tedious matters in the special mediation. But after receiving Fang Ping's call, he suddenly stood up with a change in his face. Although Fang Ping's voice was calm on the phone, but Jin Feng was keenly aware of the anger in that voice. It's like a volcano about to erupt. It made him faintly feel a sense of panic that the hairs all over his body would explode. You calm down first, I will use the fastest speed to help you check, and I will tell you immediately. After hanging up the phone, the dignified treasury ran out of the office. Find out to me immediately what happened to Fang Ping's father, as well as the cause and effect of it all for me to find out. Jin Feng shouted in a hurry. His expression was very serious and solemn, because after he heard Fang Ping's voice on the phone, he had a very bad feeling. I feel like something big might happen this time. With Jin Feng's order, everyone in the special mediation office immediately put down everyone in their hands and began to call out. Even they directly temporarily took over to mobilize the official power. When you usually go to the official to do something, you may feel that the official's efficiency is particularly slow. That's because people are not in a hurry, so everything goes slowly. But when the official terrifying machine really started to run at high speed, the efficiency that broke out was absolutely unimaginable for everyone. So, soon, just about 10 minutes. A detailed report on Fang Ping's father's car accident before and after the accident was placed directly in front of Jin Feng. To be able to find out so quickly, except because the official efficiency is terrifying enough. It's also because the youth of the Yuan family and the Hongchang group's actions against Father Bai and Fang Fu and the others in the past 2 days have not been concealed. Jin Feng paid more attention to Fang Ping's situation before. Ping's father is just a human being. In this stable Sha kingdom, how many ordinary people would have an accident? Not to mention that Fang's father is still a wealthy rich man, it will be even less likely to happen. What's more, the cause of Father Fang's car accident was more due to business reasons. The Special Mediation Office is in charge of special matters such as monster incidents, so where would they pay attention to the business wars between those rich companies? So Jin Feng did not receive any news this time. However, after reading the contents of the report, Jin Feng's expression became even more solemn than before. It's even involving this young master of the Yuan family, this is troublesome. But there is no way to get involved. Jin Feng just hesitated for a moment and immediately called Fang Ping. He couldn't hide Fang Ping about this. Otherwise, based on his guesses about Fang Ping's character, I'm afraid he will be the first to die. No, the first person to die should be the truck driver who hit Fang Ping's father. The second will be him. Your father's business should be done by Sha Jia from Hongchang Group. After the call was connected, Jin Feng immediately informed Fang Ping of all the investigations. After hearing what Jin Feng had investigated, Fang Ping's expression still didn't change much. Who are the people involved? Where is the location? Send me the list. Hearing this, Jin Feng smiled bitterly. Okay, I'll send what you want to your phone right away. Hanging up the phone, Jin Li immediately sent all these things to Fang Ping's mobile phone. After finishing all these things, Jin Feng suddenly sat on the chair and sighed deeply. Fang Ping, you really made me offend the Yuan family in just 3 words. But if you offend the Yuan family, you will offend it. The lesser of 2 evils. After all, he is the director of the Haichuan Special Mediation Office. Even if he offends the Yuan family would not dare to really treat the end of the underground. At most, all kinds of connections were used to slaughter him from the position of director. It's just a position, and he can still afford it. But if you don't tell Fang Ping, you will offend him. Well, Jin Feng still thinks it's better to offend the Yuan family. A hospital in Haichuan. Fang Ping walked directly towards an intensive care unit on the 8th floor. Mingming's intensive care unit generally does not allow idle people to enter, for fear of disturbing those patients. But at this time, neither the hospital security nor the nurses dared to step forward to stop Fang Ping, who was exuding a dangerous aura. The patients along the way, after seeing Fang Ping, avoided giving way just like a mouse sees a cat. Push open the door of the intensive care unit. There are 2 nurses changing the medicine for Father Fang. Seeing Fang Ping who came in suddenly and was very frightening, both nurses were taken aback. You are? A nurse looked at Fang Ping and asked cautiously. He's my father, you can rent a field and go. Fang Ping looked at the 2 nurses and said with a smile on the corner of his mouth. He's not someone who takes his anger out on innocent people. Oh. The nurse wanted to say something, but after the nurse next to her pulled her, the 2 left the ward and closed the door. Looking at Shi Fang, whose face was extremely pale on the hospital bed, still in a coma. Fang Ping finger tap. A wisp of black strange mist flew directly from his fingertips and merged into Father Fang's body. His martial arts focus more on lethality. And Yuan Wang Gangsha's aura was too fierce, Even if Fang Ping deliberately restrained all its power, it was still not something that an ordinary person like Father Fang could bear. Not to mention used to treat his injuries. So he can only poison Fang's father. His poison can even strengthen the bodies of Luo Yongye and the other warriors, not to mention an ordinary person like Father Fang. And those poisons can also protect Fang's father's safety. With the integration of that strange black weapon, Father Fang's face became rosy at a speed visible to the naked eye, and his breathing gradually eased and calmed down. And those injuries on his body caused by the car accident are recovering rapidly. Broken bones in the body continue to grow and heal. The newly grown bones had a hint of black, and quickly spread to the bones and flesh and blood of the whole body. Let the father's body become stronger, and the bones become more rigid. After seeing that Father Fang's injury had basically recovered, Fang Ping stretched out his finger and volleyed back towards Father Fang. For a time, above the hospital bed, countless auras were constantly dancing and surging. The next moment, the hundreds of auras belonging to the Sangwang talisman and the Haisha talisman directly submerged into Father Fang's body. At the same time, Yuan Huang Gangsha, who Fang Ping had deliberately restrained his fierce breath, also submerged into Fang's body. With the aura of hundreds of three light black evil spells as a buffer, Yuan Huang Gangsha will not harm Fang's body. With all the methods Fang Ping arranged on Fang's body at this time, even if Fang's father encountered a soul-level monster next time, he would definitely be fine. Seeing the ruddy face, Fang Ping smacked his lips a few times, as if his father was dreaming. Fang Ping turned and left. As soon as he walked out of the ward, Fang Ping saw Jin Feng waiting outside. "Is your father all right?" Jin Feng asked with concern. Fang Ping nodded. "It's all right. What are you doing here?" "Hee, I'll take a look. I know what you want to do, and I may save you a lot of trouble by following along," Jin Feng said with a bitter smile. He was really afraid of Fang Ping in this state. He also knew what Fang Ping was going to do. He will not take care of those people, but as the director of the Special Mediation Office, he also has his responsibilities. He followed Fang Ping, may be able to delay Fang Ping's anger. At the very least, he can also reduce the casualties of some ordinary people who have nothing to do with this matter. "Want to follow you?" Fang Ping glanced at him and walked directly towards the elevator. As long as Jin Feng didn't get in his way, he didn't want to pay attention to why Jin Feng followed him. Inside a police station in Haichuan, Fang Ping hadn't even arrived here yet, but Jin Feng had already taken the lead, rushing in many steps ahead of him. "The special department handles the case. What about your director?" Seeing a few police officers looking at him suspiciously, Jin Feng directly took out his credentials and asked, "Let your director come to see me right away, and in addition, all of you should leave here temporarily." Jin Feng looked at the surrounding policemen and said, "Which department's certificate is this?" A policeman took Jin Feng's certificate and found that it was an unseen certificate, but the various seals did not seem to be fake. He frowned suddenly. "It's too late. You go to your director immediately with my credentials. All of you leave immediately, and I will explain the situation to your director later." Jin Feng gave a very serious and direct order. Looking at Jin Feng's serious expression, that kind of special temperament that obviously has been in a high position all the year round, and the uniform that is similar to the police uniform but obviously needs to be more refined. The policeman did not hesitate, and immediately looked at the others. "Everyone leave here temporarily." A group of policemen left with puzzled faces, while the policeman went directly to their chief with the certificate. Soon the policeman came out with a middle-aged man. "Director Jin, if there is anything we need to cooperate with, we will cooperate." The director knew about the existence of the Special Mediation Office and had seen Jin Feng once, so after seeing Jin Feng, he immediately said with a serious face, "Let's get out of here temporarily. By the way, where is the truck driver who turned himself in from the car accident that happened last night?" Jin Feng didn't talk nonsense either. After saying his request directly, he asked the truck driver again. The chief looked at the police officers, who subconsciously replied, "In detention room number 2. Then the two walked out. "Director, this is..." The policeman frowned and asked. From just now until now, he has been in a state of bewilderment, completely unaware of what happened. "Okay, don't ask, we don't need to know these things." The chief interrupted him directly. "Soon, Fang Ping walked right here. A group of police officers looked at Jin Feng and welcomed Fang Ping in. The driver is in detention room number 2. Jin Feng looked directly at Fang Ping and said. Watching Fang Ping go straight to that side, Jin Feng sighed and breathed a sigh of relief at the same time. He felt like an old mother now. Under normal circumstances, the police station certainly cannot allow a person to meet a criminal suspect so easily. At least it will take some time to go through some formalities. But Jin Feng was afraid that Fang Ping, who was eager for revenge, would conflict with the police because of this. Our police are very responsible. In order to prevent them from lying innocently, Jin Feng would let them leave temporarily. Based on the anger of Fang Ping at this time, it is estimated that the next situation will be very. The thought just popped into his head. A shrill, goosebump scream resounded throughout the police station. In a villa in the city center, Yuan Mingui, the young man of the Yuan family, was walking around the room. From time to time he sat down again, but got up again after a while. He looked very restless. Master, what's the matter with you? Looking at Yuan Mingui who was fidgeting, the middle-aged man who was still neatly dressed asked. I don't know what's wrong. Since we came together this morning, I feel very irritable, as if something bad will happen. Yuan Mingui frowned and said very irritably. Hearing his words, the middle-aged man's brows suddenly wrinkled. Just a moment later, the middle-aged man said with a slightly changed expression. Master, in this situation, there may be some danger approaching. Although the Yuan family's bloodline in your body has not fully awakened, its concentration is approaching the level of awakening. The Yuan family's bloodline has the ability to sense danger to a certain extent. At the beginning, this happened to the owner of the house during an operation, and as expected, he encountered a powerful monster later. It's not too late, you hurry back to the Yuan family right now. The middle-aged man said directly to Yuan Mingui with a serious face. But if I go back now, my dad will definitely not agree. Yuan Mingui hesitated for a while, and said more irritably. You tell the owner of the situation clearly, he will definitely not blame you for going back without authorization. Hurry up and don't waste time. The middle-aged man said eagerly. It can make Yuan Mingui, the Yuan family who has not yet awakened, feel it. Obviously, the danger that Yuan Mingui may encounter is either very approaching or very dangerous. No matter what the situation is, it is very critical and must return to the Yuan family immediately. With the protection of the Yuan family, Yuan Mingui would not be in trouble. It is good. Yuan Mingui is also very clear that it is about his own life and must be taken seriously. He still has so many women that he has not enjoyed, how can he be dead now? Afterwards, Yuan Mingui hurried to the high-speed rail station without staying at all, not even bringing anything. And this middle-aged man stayed, to resist the danger for Yuan Mingui, or buy time for him to escape. Inside the office on the top floor of Hongchang Group. What? A shrill scream echoed throughout the office. Fang Ping stood in front of the large floor-to-ceiling window, looking at the distant scenery, while holding that Sha Jia's head in one hand. In the miserable scream, Sha Jia in Fang Ping's hands kept melting away. Outside the office door, Jin Feng, who was like a little brother in the wind, couldn't help swallowing when he heard the screams inside. It seems that this time, he was really provoked. For several hours, he followed Fang Ping and watched Fang Ping kill many people one by one. The truck driver who hit Fang's father's car, the underworld gang where the intermediary belonged, the operator, the secretary who called Sha Jia, and Sha Jia himself who gave the order. All died at the hands of Fang Ping. And just from the screams of those people, Jin Feng can imagine how much pain they suffered before dying. Just then, his cell phone rang suddenly. Just after connecting the phone and hearing a sentence, Jin Feng's face suddenly became a little ugly, and at the same time it became more dignified. Click. The door of the office opened, and the situation inside was similar to those of the people who had been killed before. Sha Jia had completely disappeared. Fang Ping walked out of it. Knowing where Fang Ping's next destination is, Jin Feng said at this time, that Yuan Mingui has just left Haichuan and took the high-speed train back to the provincial capital. After he investigated the cause of the whole thing before, he did not report it. The purpose is to let Fang Ping kill Yuan Mingui in Haichuan, and to end the matter directly in Haichuan. As for the Yuan family, they will definitely seek revenge from Fang Ping, that will come later. He did not have a grudge against Yuan Minghui, he simply wanted to reduce the impact of this incident. Fang Ping killed Yuan Minghui in Haichuan, and was retaliated by the Yuan family, and he chased Yuan Minghui to the provincial capital, directly confronting the Yuan family. The movements of the two are definitely not on the same level. The latter movement will definitely be very big. It is so big that it will shock many people, many powerful people. But hearing Jin Feng's words, Fang Ping's expression did not change. He even smiled slightly. It's okay, even if he escapes to the sky, he has to die. Fang Ping's mouth curved into a cruel arc. Then he looked at Jin Feng. Can you do me another favor and tell me the location of the Yuan family? Hearing this, Jin Feng frowned at Fang Ping and couldn't help but say, do you really want to do this? You should know very well what kind of consequences Jin has after you do this. Clear. Fang Ping nodded. Seeing that Fang Ping was still indifferent, Jin Feng said again, the Yuan family will definitely not let you go, even if you escape temporarily, you will definitely be wanted until you die. Hearing Jin Feng's words, Fang Ping suddenly raised his brows and looked at him and asked, by the way, if I destroy the Yuan family, my father should be fine, right? Hearing this, Jin Feng immediately covered his forehead, knowing that what he just said was completely in vain. You can rest assured about this, if you really destroy the Yuan family, even if there are other people who will hunt you down, they will definitely not do anything to your father, they will be afraid of your existence, and this kind of thing will not be dealt with specially. Allow me to help you keep an eye on your father too. But this is a situation where you can still escape after destroying the Yuan family. If you die, even if your father won't die, the situation will be very miserable. Fang Ping nodded. Okay, I remember, good Li Hao, and compliment. Jin Feng was speechless. What do you remember? You remember to destroy the Yuan family, right? Can you tell me the location of the Yuan family now? Fang Ping looked at Jin Feng. Seeing Fang Ping's unchanging will, Jin Feng sighed heavily, and then told him the location of his home. Looking at the back of Fang Ping leaving, Jin Feng said, although I won't notify the Yuan family about this matter, but I will report it to the special mediator. This is my duty, but as for whether they will notify the Yuan family, I can't guarantee it, I hope you can understand. Fang Ping waved his hand without looking back, okay. Later, Jin Feng returned to the special mediation office, but he did not report it immediately. It was only after someone called to inform him that Fang Ping had boarded the high-speed train to the provincial capital, Jin Feng sent the report on the matter to his superiors. Yuhuan City. It is named because the Sejong River circles around the city for more than half a circle, like a jade belt. However, as the provincial capital of Sejong Province, as people's lives are getting better and better in recent years, a large amount of domestic sewage is discharged into Sejong. The name is already a bit of a misnomer. Kangshan Villa District is built along Kangshan Forest Park, with beautiful scenery and fragrant birds and flowers. It is the most expensive area in Yuhuan City. But not many people know that behind the Kangshan Villa area, there is still a large manor built. Antique, simple and solemn. At this time, in a certain room in Zhuangzi, a young and vigorous middle-aged man received a call from the special mediator. That person has come to Yuhuan, the middle-aged man said with a frown. After chatting for a while, hang up the phone. Feeling the strong sense of crisis in the dark, the middle-aged man thought for a while, then immediately took the mobile phone and started making calls. He made several phone calls in a row, but he was still restless and a little restless. This person is Yuan Minghui's father, Yuan Shidong, who is also the current head of the Yuan family. As a martial artist who has broken the limit twice, and a person who has successfully awakened his bloodline, his strength is very powerful. That's why he is so nervous now. With a successful bloodline, his ability to sense crisis is far stronger than Yuan Minghui, who has not awakened his bloodline. From this morning, he felt a strong sense of crisis. He didn't know where the crisis came from before. But only when he received a call from the Yuan family in the special mediation office, did he determine the source of this crisis. It turned out to be his incompetent playboy son provoked it. This renegade son, there is really no day that can make me feel at ease. Yuan Shidong cursed bitterly. It can make him feel dangerous, obviously that Fang Ping's strength is definitely not weak. This villain actually hit someone else's father, damn it. Mingbo. Thinking of this, Yuandong immediately walked out the door. Homeowner. An old man who resembled a housekeeper came in respectfully. Is that villain back? Yuan Shidong asked angrily. Hearing this, Uncle Ming gave him a somewhat surprised look. Yes, the young master has just returned home. Bring him to see me now. Yuan Shidong said angrily. At this time, in the Haichuan Special Adjustment Office, Jin Feng smiled bitterly as he looked at the two people in front of him who came looking for him. You are here for Fang Ping's business, right? Ajdi before you, Captain Yuan, Director Zhao, and Secretary Liu of the provincial capital have already called me. These three, the one who came to Haichuan to borrow Yuan Yuqing last time, is a member of the Yuan family, one is his immediate boss, and the other is the most intimate secret agent in Yuhuan City. Almost not long after his report was submitted, the Yuan family, the official face, and the special mediators all put pressure on him. Director Jin, we don't want to embarrass you, but the Yuan family has an old relationship with me, so I have to help. Yeah, last time my old man was seriously injured by a monster, and it was only through the Yuan family's relationship that he got an elixir for treatment, and I couldn't help it. One of these two people is Haichuan's thumb, and the other is his close friend. The two of them also looked at Jin Feng with some embarrassment and said. Looking at the two of them, Jin Fengmin smiled bitterly. It's not that I don't help you, but my relationship with Fang Ping is really not as good as you think, and I can't persuade him at all. You should know that this time Fang Ping's father was directly hit by a truck and almost died. With such a deep hatred, how could Fang Ping listen to my advice? Hearing this, Jin Feng's friend was even more embarrassed, but helplessly, his old man said something, and he could only look at Jin Feng. The other person was a little unconvinced. Director Jin, who are you deceiving? I have already asked someone to ask, although I can't ask for detailed information, but I probably still know that this Fang Ping is the one you invited to join the special mediation office. And today you have been with the court for 10 days. It's all like this, you told me that you have a bad relationship with him. The man continued, Director Jin, I really don't want you to be embarrassed. Otherwise, you can call him and persuade him. This matter is actually completely negotiable. After all, it wasn't Fang Ping's father who was personally bumped into by young Master Yuan, and he didn't even instruct him, it's just that the man under him used his name and acted erratically. This person really deserves his identity, and he has a kung fu with thin mud. If it wasn't for the support of young Master Yuan, Yuan Jia did this. Jin Feng muttered silently in his heart. But he couldn't resist the two people pestering him all the time. Okay, then I'll give him a call. No matter what the result is, don't bother me again. Okay, that's it. Then Jin Feng started calling Fang Ping to persuade him. He even turned on the speakerphone directly to let the two listen to prove that he really called Fang Ping. Fang Ping, I think you are still thinking about it. The Yuan family is really strong. There are at least 5 warriors in the Yuan family who have broken the limit twice, and there are even more warriors who have broken the limit once. The old man who has lived for a long time has broken through the limit 3 times, and is comparable to a virtual monster. And the Yuan family's influence in Yuhuan City has deepened in all aspects. Unless you go directly to the Yuan family's lair as soon as you arrive in Yuhuan City, they will have various ways to hinder you. And if you really fight with the Yuan family, there will be no place for you in the entire Sejong province, and you will even be hunted down. You mustn't think that you can escape from Sejong down the river to the next province, then from the next province to the sea to the country of Yamaguchi, and finally from the country of Yamaguchi to the allied country of Ameria. You can fly far away. I advise you to dispel this idea. Although the Yuan family's relationship and influence cannot be reached there, they will definitely not let you go. As soon as the phone was connected, Jin Feng just said a lot. Fang Ping, who had just walked out of the high-speed rail station on the other end of the phone, was stunned for a moment and then suddenly laughed. If Jin Feng could speak like this, he could probably guess Jin Feng's situation at this time. What kind of thing are you? You dare to persuade me? Believe it or not, I can crush you with one hand. Fang Ping said in a very cold voice. Jin Feng can be considered to have helped him a lot, and it would be good to take him out of this matter. Bold, you know who you're talking to, do. Hear the sound of the phone hanging up from the phone. A smile flashed in Jin Feng's eyes, but there was an extremely angry expression on his face. He even stood up angrily. Look, What is his attitude? I am at odds with Fang Ping. Jin Feng looked at the two angrily and cursed loudly. Yuhuan South Station. Fang Ping walked out of the high-speed rail station. That tall figure made the passers-by around him keep peeking at him. 5-second limit warriors, 1 virtual level. Thinking about the information revealed by your words just now, Jin Feng, Fang Ping smiled lightly. This little power can't force him to flee in a hurry. However, Jin Feng's words are not without his need to pay attention. The Yuan family's relationship network touched many aspects, and they might actually use various methods to obstruct him. Once Fang Ping was obstructed and provoked and slaughtered ordinary people, the Yuan family would be able to drag the special officer into the water. Let Fang Ping have to face the special tone office. Thinking of this, Fang Ping stepped down. If that's the case, then I'll go straight to your Yuan family's base camp. How can you stop me? Boom. The stone bricks on the ground burst in an instant, and Fang Ping's figure disappeared directly in place. The passers-by who saw this scene all rubbed their eyes in disbelief. I wonder if I'm hallucinating. After being strong, Fang Ping doesn't mind a few things. After all, the Special Mediation Office had noticed him, and even knew part of his strength. Then he didn't need to hide anything. At this time, Fang Ping's physical fitness was extremely strong. Even himself, if he does not deliberately control his muscles and use powerful means of attack, it is difficult to injure himself. And relying on his strong body, his speed is naturally fast to the extreme. Those ordinary people, even if Fang Ping rushed directly in front of their eyes, they couldn't notice anything except a gust of wind. On this day, there was a gust of wind on several avenues in Yuhuan City. Moreover, this gust of wind will turn several turns, but the direction he blows has never changed. This abnormal phenomenon has surprised many people in Yuhuan City. Many public accounts and marketing accounts have an additional news that can attract attention. Under the Kangshan Villa area, Fang Ping sensed it slightly, and then walked directly towards a certain direction on the Kangshan mountain. At this moment, his cell phone rang suddenly. Fang Ping, right, I'm Yuan Shidong and the head of the Yuan family. Now you leave immediately. My Yuan family can pretend that you have never been here, and our Yuan family will definitely give you an explanation about your father's affairs. On the other end of the phone was Yuan Shidong's calm voice. After listening to his words, Fang Ping's mouth twitched. Then let me just ask, will you kill that Yuan Mingui? He's my son, and he didn't hit your father. Yuan Shidong said in a deep voice, with suppressed anger in his voice. But that person did things in your son's name, so I'm going to settle accounts with him, isn't it reasonable? Fang Ping said softly. Hearing Fang Ping's words, Yuan Shidong no longer concealed it, and his voice became a little cold. So you must fight against my Yuan family, right? Right. Fang Ping's mouth twitched. Maybe. I don't want to fight against you, I just want to destroy you. That's all. If that's the case, then I'll be waiting for you. Yuan Shidong's icy voice was full of killing intent, and he hung up the phone after he finished speaking. Fang Ping ignored the beep on the phone that hung up the phone, and instead looked at the man walking in front of him. Isn't it that the special mediator will not interfere with the affairs between warriors? Fang Ping raised his eyebrows and asked, looking at the familiar special adjustment uniform on the person in front of him. The special mediation agency will not interfere in the affairs between you, but if you dare to hurt innocent ordinary people, the special mediation agency will definitely let you go. The man said with an extremely cold expression, and even looked at Fang Ping with a strong killing intent in his eyes. It's just me. Isn't the Yuan family within this restriction? Fang Ping ignored him, and instead looked at not far behind him. Swa. In the direction Fang Ping was looking at, an afterimage appeared instantly. Of course not. People from the Yuan family who hurt innocent ordinary people will also be held accountable. Along with the afterimage, there was a loud voice. I saw a man who looked 50 or 60 years old, but was very powerful in chi and blood, appeared in the middle of the two. He was also wearing the special outfit. After seeing him appear, he looked with a serious look at the person who warned Fang Ping just now. Yuan Mingda, you've crossed the line. This time it's just a warning. Next time, you should know the consequences. After you go back, copy the discipline of special adjustment 1,000 times. Remember, in addition to being a member of the Yuan family, you are also wearing the uniform of the special mediator. Hearing this man's warning, the man named Yuan Mingda immediately admitted his mistake. Yes, I know I was wrong. At this time, that person looked at Fang Ping with the same seriousness. Although the Yuan family has an old relationship with me, I will not favor either of you. As long as you don't hurt innocent ordinary people, the special mediation agency won't care about you. Feeling the strength of the person in front of him, Fang Ping raised his brows. It's really good. He could feel a threat from the person in front of him. This person's strength is very strong, and it is estimated that he already has 60% of the strength of his current normal state. Point 0. As a colleague who is also a special mediator, Fang Ping nodded to him and passed them directly. It was only when he was passing by Yuan Mingda. He touched his nose lightly. It's the Yuan family, and they joined the special mediation department. Continue to walk towards the back of the Kengshan Villa area. When he almost walked to the back of the Kengshan Villa area, Fang Ping felt it slightly. Almost all right. After that, there are basically no ordinary people. Even if there are, they must be ordinary people who are related to the Yuan family. They are not innocent ordinary people. Mind a move. In an instant, strands of strange black mist emanated from Fang Ping's body. And starting from him, it spreads wildly forward, almost covering the entire Kengshan Forest Park. Heavenly poison art. Fang Ping's eyes flickered, and his smile gradually became more and more hideous. This time, let me see your true power. Everywhere. It seemed to sense Fang Ping's murderous thoughts, and the countless strange black mists that spread forward instantly became even more maddening surges. A strange laughter, like a ghost, faintly sounded from the countless black mist. Yuhuan City. Under the Kengshan Villa area, I looked at the countless strange black mists rising from the Kengshan mountain. A look of shock appeared on Yu Nengxin's face. He could vaguely see that at the edge of the black fog, the trees that were originally green and lush, all withered and rotted the moment they came into contact with the black fog. He sucked in a breath of cold air, his eyes full of surprise. Isn't this Fang Ping a disciple of Tianxin Fist Jim? Even if they return to Qingshu Mountain, let alone Tianxin's lineage, even in Qingshu Mountain, I haven't heard of such a strange exercise. And the Yuan Mingda next to him, looking at the black fog at this time, frowned deeply. Seeing Yuan Mingda's worried expression about the Yuan family, Yu Nengxin's eyes flashed a hint of dissatisfaction. This person is still more towards his own family. You can go back to the special mediation office to transcribe the discipline. Yu Nengxin said directly. Director, shut up, as long as you take off your clothes now. If you want to go back to help the Yuan family, I will never stop you. Yu Nengxin frowned and scolded. Looking at the situation on Kengshan again, Yuan Mingda finally did not dare to resist Yu Nengxin's order and left. At this time, in the Yuan family manor in Kengshan, a group of people has gathered. HMPH, it seems that our Yuan family hasn't done anything for a long time. Any cat or dog would dare to provoke the Yuan family. A bald man said coldly. That's right, I have to show my muscles this time, and let those people see that my family can't be messed with by anyone. Another middle-aged man with a slightly thinner physique agreed. Second uncle, third uncle, don't be careless, that Fang Ping's strength is definitely not simple. I could feel a strong crisis early this morning. Faced with that Fang Ping, we must deal with it carefully, otherwise there may be an accident. Hearing their words, Yuan Dong frowned and said. He felt that these uncles despised Fang Ping a little too much. Shidong, as the head of the family, I shouldn't have refuted your words, but your words are a bit long for others' ambition and destroy your own prestige. The one called Fang Ping, how old is he? No matter how talented he is, how strong can he be? We have dozens of limit-breaking warriors here, plus you have 7-second time limit-breaking warriors, not to mention the old ancestor and his old man. You are actually worried that our Yuan family will be defeated. On the other side, an old man with a rosacea said with a displeased expression. Hearing his words, a look of helplessness flashed across Yuan Shidong's face. Uncle, it's not that I don't believe the Yuan family, but I'm worried that the Yuan family's losses will be too great. Just as a few people were talking, a noise accompanied by screams came from outside. What happened? Yuan Shidong frowned and looked outside. Homeowner, help, At this time, a child of the Yuan family ran in from the outside, crying for help while crying. Seeing the tragic state of this person, everyone in the house instantly changed their expressions. I saw that this person had turned black all over, and his face, neck, and hands were constantly rotting. Even when it was rotting, the rotten and disgusting wounds continued to diffuse black air into the air. After that, Yuan Shidong did not wait for Yuan Shidong to rescue this person. He collapsed directly to the ground, and there was no sound except for some twitches in his body. Seeing this man die in front of him like this, Yuan Shidong's eyes twitched and his face was full of anger. But before he could say anything, a few disciples standing on the wall next to each other suddenly let out a sound. It was as if a drop of ink had fallen into the water. The faces of those few people, the nose, and eyes are rapidly turning black, and at the same time, the blackness is spreading frantically toward the whole body. The blackened flesh began to rot continuously. No matter how those few people gathered their inner chi and tried to force the poison out, it would have no effect. Even their inner chi not only did not force the poison out, but instead allowed those toxins to erode and pollute their inner chi more quickly. So much so that the inside of their bodies also began to rot. Several people clasped their stomachs and fell to the ground screaming frantically. Damn, that guy actually used poison. Yuan Shidong waved his hand angrily, forcing away the spreading black chi in the air. But those black chi seemed to be alive and could not be dispelled no matter how Yuan Shidong waved his hand. In the end, the bald-headed man next to him burst out with a powerful inner energy, and instantly more and more black energy in the house was dissipated. Yes, dispelled. Although for poisons, it is hooliganism to talk about toxicity aside from the dose. But the poison of Fang Ping's poison art on this day is so strange. The inner chi of the bald man dispelled those black chi. Yes, these toxins may not kill people soon. But he let the poison spread all over the house at once. Everyone is directly recruited. One by one, the limit-breaking warriors began to look strange, and their bodies were itchy. A little black spot appeared on their body, and then the black spot quickly expanded into a black spot, spreading towards the surrounding flesh and blood. Ah, I'm poisoned. The place where the black spot appeared quickly rotted away, and the sharp pain that pierced the heart instantly made all the warriors scream in agony. Boom, boom, boom. The 7 warriors who had broken the limit for the second time burst out with a powerful and cold inner energy, instantly forcing the black spots that also appeared on their bodies out of the body. But looking at the miserable state of the other Yuan family disciples in the house, everyone's faces were extremely ugly. Several people quickly forced those people into poison. Yuan Shidong, on the other hand, walked quickly to the door. But when he just walked to the door and saw the tragic scene in the village outside, his footsteps suddenly stopped. An unbelievable look appeared on his face. I saw a strange black mist floating in the air in the huge Shuangzi. On the ground in the dark air, rotting corpses were everywhere. Those Yuan family disciples, as well as the servants who worked, all fell to the ground at this time. The whole body has been rotten beyond recognition, and even the wailing and screaming have become very powerless. It can only be painful rolling on the ground, body twitching. A twisted, bloody face. Dark blood mixed with rotten flesh and blood flowed all over the floor. The entire Zhuangzi scene looked even more terrifying than hell. Fang Ping. A palm smashed the door next to him. 1.1. The angry roar was full of hysterical killing intent. The expression on Yuan Shidong's face twisted in anger. At this moment, a light laughter sounded from the strange black mist. Then came the sound of footsteps and the murmur of the dead corpses all over the floor. It seems that the trash fish should be almost cleaned up. Don't worry, it will be yours soon. Fang Ping, with a smile, walked out of the dark fog, looked at Yuan Shidong with a light smile and said. Looking at the corpses around him, the smile on Fang Ping's face did not change. The effect of the heavenly poison arts clearing was beyond his expectations. He didn't waste the little origin quality he consumed at the beginning. Fang Ping. Yuan Shidong's expression was ferocious and twisted, and his gaze towards Fang Ping was filled with endless anger and hatred. Boom. A powerful aura erupted from Yuan Shidong's body instantly. Boom. Fang Ping. I'm going to tear you into pieces. Yuan Shidong's eyes were splitting. He glared at Fang Ping with a twisted expression, and a powerful aura erupted from his body. A violent explosion sounded instantly, followed by a sound like a steel drill inserted into the flesh and blood. Yuan Shidong's powerful aura was instantly stagnant. Looking at the tall figure that appeared in front of him instantly, Yuan Shidong slowly lowered his head. I saw Fang Ping's sturdy arm was deeply inserted into his chest. The palms ran out from behind his back. Fang Ping looked at Yuan Shidong's stunned expression, and the corner of his mouth twitched. If you want to fight, fight, why do you all like nonsense so much? Yuan Huang Gangsha gushed out, frantically destroying Yuan Shidong's body and devouring his vitality. Okay, so fast. At this time, Yuan Shidong only had this thought in his mind. At that moment, he could only barely capture some afterimages of Fang Ping. What? Feeling his rapidly depleting vitality, Yuan Shidong suddenly opened his mouth and let out a shrill scream. Yuan Shidong was obviously a man, but he made a sharp female scream. Boom! An even more terrifying force erupted from Yuan Shidong's body, and Fang Ping was instantly knocked out. But even so, when he flew upside down and pulled his arm out of Yuan Shidong's chest, the 5 curved fingers still tore a large piece of the heart from his body. What? I saw Yuan Shidong's chest, a large bloody hole running through the front and back of the body. But he still kept the sharp woman's scream with his mouth open, and the momentum that surged around him became more powerful and gloomy. In the big hole in his chest, bunches of granulation sprouted, constantly repairing his injuries. When a warrior broke through the limits of the human body for the first time, he was already approaching the monster. But at this time, the warriors will only have a few changes in the characteristics of some monsters. When the martial artist broke through the human body's limit for the second time, he moved closer to the monster. At this time, the warrior will also become closer to the monster, showing various characteristics of the monster. The powerful vitality and physical recovery ability is one of them. Fang Ping, who flew out, twisted in the air and landed smoothly, looking at Yuan Shidong at this moment with some surprise. It was only in Yuan Shidong's shrill and sinister scream. His hair began to grow rapidly, and was soon dragged to the ground, but it still did not stop. Countless hairs grow out, occupying all the surrounding space, flying messily on the ground and in the air, surging frantically. At this time, the surroundings of Yuan Shidong seemed to have turned into a sea of black hair. And his breath has become extremely gloomy and cold, like a ghost. A phantom-like figure of a woman appeared above Yuan Shidong. Those empty but extremely cold eyes stared at Fang Ping. The Yuan family's bloodline is called Yin Nu. It comes from an ancestor of the Yuan family a long time ago. When the wife of the ancestor of the Yuan family was pregnant, he was infected with demonic energy day and night, and finally turned into a demonized creature. Then he continued to feed a large amount of human flesh and blood to his wife, who had become a demonized creature, increasing her strength step by step. But the baby in his wife's body was used by him to sort out the devilish energy and save his life. In the end, after his wife was successfully promoted to a soul-level monster, she gave birth to that child. And the power of the monsters inherited from the mother's body remains in that baby's body. This is the origin of Yuan Jian's bloodline. Die. Yuan Shidong, who exploded with the power of his bloodline, looked at Fang Ping with a cold expression, and spit out an emotionless word of death. Boom! In the next moment, the air was turbulent, Yuan Shidong's figure appeared in an instant, and his purple-blue fingers like a dead man directly grabbed Fang Ping's head. The endless black hair behind him madly wrapped around Fang Ping's body. Like extremely tough, extremely sharp steel wires, constantly tightening, cutting Fang Ping's flesh and blood. Bang! Fang Ping's head was directly smashed by Yuan Shidong. A sneer appeared at the corner of Yuan Shidong's mouth, as if he had seen the next second scene of Fang and his body being cut into pieces by his own hair. The purple-blue fingers lapped the hair wrapped around Fang Ping's body and pulled it back gently. The smile on his face was even more sinister. It's raining blood. The hideous smile on Yuan Shidong's face gradually solidified. How can you not move? I saw Fang Ping's body, which was entangled by countless hair strands. No matter how the hair strands were cut and pulled, there was still no change. Those strands of hair didn't seem to wrap around him, but around a piece of steel. The head slowly deflected back. Although I don't know, what are you doing, but... Are you tickling me? Fang Ping looked at Yuan Shidong with a grin on his face. Call. A terrifying cold flame appeared in an instant, burning all the countless strands of hair around his body. With a bang, Yuan Shidong's head was instantly smashed by Fang Ping like a watermelon. The whole person flew out. What? The illusory woman figure in the sky screamed instantly, and a gloomy force enveloped Yuan Shidong. I saw Yuan Shidong's head, which was almost completely broken, actually grew bunches of wriggling granulation again. Not dead yet, then I'll see how long you can carry it. Fang Ping's expression turned fierce, and with a loud bang, he rushed directly to Yuan Shidong. An extremely strange barren white light emanated from the raised fist. Bang bang bang. But at this time, there were 5 or 6 roars in a row. Several figures exuding a powerful breath rushed out of the house in an instant. Stop me! With several angry shouts, several Yuan family's second-time limit-breaking warriors burst out with powerful moves, slamming towards Fang Ping. Boom! In a huge roar, Fang Ping had no defense at all, and directly used his body to resist the attacks of several people, and then grabbed the body of the bald man. The smile on his face was hideous. Hiss! The bald man's body was torn in half by Fang Ping in an instant. The blood rained and splashed all over the sky. Keep going. Ha 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 ha. In the bloody storm, Fang Ping grabbed half of the big man's body with each hand, and laughed wildly. Inside the Yuan family manor, continuous collision sounds sounded one after another. 5 second-time limit-breaking warriors frantically besieged Fang Ping. At this moment, Fang Ping's body was surging, and his whole body was full of white light. The fists, palms, knees and elbows are ever-changing, and the thighs that are drawn out from time to time are like a giant python, almost perfectly blocking all the attacks of several people. A little missed, the unstoppable attack was also directly resisted with a powerful body, and he was not injured at all. Are you all that capable? Then you can die. Every violent collision, his Yuan Wang Gangsha can take advantage of the situation to devour a part of the opponent's vitality. The influx of vitality, mixed with the excitement of the battle, made Fang Ping extremely excited, and looked at several people with a grin and laughed wildly. Bang! At the moment when the air burst, Fang Ping resisted the attacks of several people, and a dodging appeared directly in front of one of the old men. The clenched fist is like a huge hammer, smashing it hard. Bang! There was a huge depression in the man's chest in an instant, all the bones in the chest were broken, and the whole person flew upside down, spurting blood. The moment he smashed the man, Fang Ping snapped his fingers again, and grabbed the head of a middle-aged man next to him. Click! 5 thick fingers forcibly grabbed 5 large holes in the middle-aged man's skull, and inserted the fingers deeply into his brain. Then the 5 fingers pinched violently, and the upper half of the middle-aged man's head was directly crushed by Fang Ping. The brains splattered with blood. But at the same time, there were a few muffled sounds. While Fang Ping was seriously injuring the 2 of them, several other people's attacks also fell on him. Fang Ping's body swayed, and his face turned hideous. Like a giant python looking back and biting, Fang Ping lifted his foot like a whip, and instantly sent a person flying away. With the backhand of his right hand, he directly inserted it into the body of the person behind him. He grabbed the man's spine directly from within his body, grabbed his entire body like a weapon, and smashed it hard at another person. Boom! A part of their bodies burst at the same time and flew out. And when they flew upside down, the spine that Fang Ping held in his hand also took advantage of the situation and was directly pulled out of the man's body. Ha ha ha! Holding a selected spine in his hand, Fang Ping laughed wildly as he watched the 5 people who flew out one by one and fell to the ground with all serious injuries. Your fragile body is like tofu, it really shatters when you touch it. Evilly looking at the 5 people who were constantly recovering from their injuries, Fang Ping smiled grimly. Afterwards, Fang Ping's body was full of white light, and Yuan Huang Gangsha seemed to be full of big mouths, madly swallowing the vitality of several people. At this time, not far away, Fang Ping's poisonous mist did not spread to the sky. Yu Nangxin looked at the scene below in shock. Especially when he saw Fang Ping's fighting style was so cruel and tyrannical, he raised his hands and feet, and defeated all 5 or 6 second-time limit-breaking warriors with serious injuries without being injured at all. Yu Nangxin was even more shocked. To kill so many warriors who have broken the limit twice so easily, this Fang Ping's strength must have broken through to the virtual level, right? How old is he, and how long has he been practicing? Although Fang Ping's data file confidentiality level has been improved a lot before. But Yu Nangxin, as the director of the Special Mediation Office of Sejong Province, can still do it if he wants to see Fang Ping's information. That's why he was so shocked. Especially after seeing Fang Ping killing a few second time limit breaking warriors so easily. You must know that there are 6 limit breaking warriors, and if you add Yuan Shidong from the beginning, there are 7 second time limit breaking warriors. Even the top second time limit breaker might not be able to do such a thing. And while he was watching Fang Ping, below Fang Ping, who was using the Yuanwang Gangsha to devour the vitality of the people and corpses around him, the muscles on his face also twitched a few times. There was a ferocious look on his face. If it weren't for the old guy from the special mediation who had been secretly spying on him. Why would he waste so much time with these rubbish? Woo! At this moment, a gloomy aura suddenly erupted in a room not far away. This aura was very similar to the gloomy aura that Yuan Shidong had exuded when he exploded his bloodline power, but it was much weaker. Fang Ping's eyes shot like a knife in an instant. Boom! A gust of wind instantly opened the door. In this room, a young man with many rotten black spots appeared on his body, howling in pain on the ground. A seemingly invisible shadow of a woman radiated a force in the sky and enveloped him. Help him fight the dark spots of decay that spread and grow on his body. Finally found the true master. Seeing this man's face, Fang Ping who walked into the room had a smile on his face. This howling young man was the one he had chased and killed this time, Yuan Minghui. In the acute pain of sky poison corrupting his body, he actually successfully awakened the Yuan family bloodline. Don't kill me, woohoo, I was wrong. Please, don't kill me. Seeing Fang Ping walking in, Yuan Minghui, who was howling in pain, raised his head and pleaded with tears. Alas, although young people have the capital to make mistakes, they also have to have a degree. You said do you know how many people were killed because of you? You killed them all, Fang Ping said to Yuan Minghui very sadly. As if the corpses on the ground outside were all killed by Yuan Minghui. But listening to Fang Ping's extremely mourning words, Yuan Minghui was not happy at all. Because he saw that, although Fang Ping said very sad, there was an excited cruel smile on his face. Woohoo, please, I don't want to die, please let me go. Yuan Minghui prayed even more humbly, that there would be no more arrogance and baby-cum in the past. So many of your elders died because of you, why don't you go down and accompany them? They should miss you so much. Fang Ping approached with a smile, and white light appeared in his hand. What? The illusory figure of the woman in the sky screamed towards Fang Ping, and a gloomy malice rushed towards him. What do you call Fang Ping was less irritated by this thing, and a large group of flames appeared out of thin air on him, burning furiously. Countless flames instantly rolled towards the illusory figure, burning it directly. This thing is really annoying. If it weren't for this, he would have killed Yuan Shidong in the Qianuo district long ago. After burning the figure to death, Fang Ping raised his foot and stepped on Yuan Minghui's head. You've killed so many people, you're a heinous crime. Let me end your sinful life. Boom. The moment Fang Ping's foot fell, the moment when the Japanese stock market became boundless, completely enveloped this side. Stop. Accompanied by this terrifying momentum, there was an old roar of endless anger mixed with it. At this moment, the surrounding air seemed to stagnate in an instant. The air was filled with an extremely heavy and terrifying sense of depression. Under the terrifying pressure, Fang Ping slowly raised his head, with a cruel smile on the corner of his mouth. Stop, but I have feet. Snapped. A foot fell, Yuan Minghui's head exploded instantly. The blood and brain plasma instantly sputtered to the ground. Boom. The whole house collapsed. It was discovered that Fang Ping actually stomped on Yuan Minghui's head despite his resistance. That old voice was obviously extremely angry, and that powerful and terrifying pressure instantly completely crushed the entire house. Minghui. A cry of anger and grief sounded. With a bang, Fang Ping's body rushed out of the ruins of the house. His eyes looked directly not far away. Not far away, Yuan Shidong, whose head was blown off by Fang Ping before, had already recovered most of his head. The granulation on the remaining chunk of flesh and blood was still squirming, and the various brain masses in his head could be clearly seen. The inferior frontal gyrus, middle cerebral gyrus and other parts of the brain are constantly beating. It's just that Yuan Shidong at this moment was screaming his son's name in the ruins at Fang Ping's feet with a face full of grief. And in the air above him, an old man in a dark robe, like Yu Nangsen in the air behind him, hangs out of thin air. He was glaring at Fang Ping with the same anger. And Yu Nangsen, who was in the air in the distance, narrowed his eyes slightly when he saw the old man appear. The old guy Yuan Zong has really broken through. No, his breath is not right, it seems that he is still stuck in the last half step. Yu Nangsen stared at the old man, sensed the powerful aura on his body, and then thought in surprise. However, it's only half a step away from entering the virtual level. Even those second time limit breakers of the strongest level will definitely not be his opponents. What's more, Yuan Zong's bloodline is much stronger than Yuan Shidong. Once the power of the bloodline bursts out, within a short period of 990 years, the strength of this old guy will definitely not weaken me. Thinking of this, Yu Nangsen looked at Fang Ping with a smile on the corner of his mouth. Fang Ping, I don't know what you will do in the face of this existence whose real strength is not weaker than the virtual level in a short period of time. A fight to the death, or a catch. Yu Nangsen looked at Fang Ping's back with a smile, but his eyes flickered. According to the information of Fang Ping he knew from the archives, he was very curious what kind of choices Fang Ping would make. Moreover, he is also very curious about Fang Ping's true strength. Fang Ping killed the Yuan family so easily, he was really shocked. But being able to do it so easily clearly means that Fang Ping's strength is definitely more than what he has shown before. And now, in the face of the terrifying existence of the virtual level, you have to show your full strength, right? And this side, looking at the ground below, there are very few flesh and blood remains that have rotted and melted everywhere. This old man, who Yu Nangsen called Yuan Zong, was already full of anger on his face. Even the palms of anger were already trembling faintly. He had lived in seclusion for so many years before, and he had almost always been secluded in a secret room behind the Yuan family. In order to break through the limit of the third human body, advance to the virtual level, and let the Yuan family achieve real prosperity. Because in the retreat, his five senses are closed, and even his life breath has converged to the extreme. He devoted himself to fighting the strange power of the monster's flesh and blood, so he didn't know what was going on outside. Until just now, Yuan Shidong, who was seriously injured, came to wake him up. He just broke through the barrier and came here. But now, what he sees is such a scene like purgatory. Yuan family. This huge Yuan family, so many children, so many people, all died. With a swish, his eyes were fixed on Fang Ping, a little red. Damn you, should I die, it doesn't matter what you said. Fang Ping chuckled. It's just that he looked at Yuan Zong's eyes, full of fear and vigilance at this time. The strength of this old guy is very strong, giving him a strong sense of threat. Boom! A terrifying aura swept the poisonous mist in the surrounding air. The air roared, and the space fluctuated a little. Yuan Zong's old and thin body instantly disappeared in the air. Fang Ping's pupils shrank suddenly, and a strong sense of danger instantly enveloped him completely. Boom! The ruins under his feet exploded in an instant, and countless dust and smoke scattered in all directions, and all those broken walls and ruins were wiped out in a terrifying force. Call! At this time, a figure suddenly rushed out of the dust. It's Fang Ping. It's just that his direction is not to escape, but to rush directly to Yuan Shidong in the distance. Fang Ping's eyes were full of killing intent, first kill this Yuan Shidong, and then fight this old guy. Because of that, Yunnan Shin Shi Ping, who was in the air far behind, didn't want to fully reveal his full strength. And if he doesn't use all his strength, facing this powerful old thing, he can't be distracted. So, kill this Yuan Shidong first. And Yuan Shidong, who was still very sad, saw Fang Ping rushing towards him, so he turned around and ran. Fang Ping will surely die if the ancestors take action. As long as he can save his life. At that time, he will torture Fang Ping's body thousands of times, torture all his relatives to death, and come to the Yuan family to avenge the countless Ajib people. Seeing that Yuan Shidong actually turned around and ran away, Fang Ping's brows furrowed fiercely. At the same time, in the roar that sounded again, he could feel the terrifying aura behind him rushing towards him quickly. Don't you care about your son? Do you know what he was like before I killed him? He knelt on the ground like a worm and begged me to spare him. Gia, he thought I would be soft-hearted. Then I stomped on his head with one foot, and my brain was all over the floor. It's so miserable. Fang Ping chased Yuan Shidong while laughing to stimulate Yuan Shidong. Yuan Shidong gritted his teeth and ran. Hearing Fang Ping's words, his eyes were extremely red with anger, filled with endless hatred. But even so angry, he still kept admonishing himself in his heart. Hold back, he just wants to stimulate you. Boom. Fang Ping, who had just finished saying those words, was instantly blown away by an attack from the rear. It slammed into a wall heavily. But in just a moment, Fang Ping rushed out of the dust and smoke from the collapsed wall again and continued to question Yuan Shidong. And those people who besieged me to save you, do you know what happened to them? Gia, that bald guy was torn in half by me, and when he died, his feet were still twitching. The old man's spine was directly pulled out by me, and there was another person whose head was directly caught by me. Do you know how it felt when my fingers scratched his skull? Gia, I can feel his brain still jumping with my hands. They were all killed by me in order to save you, but you just left them and ran away. Are you right about them? A trace of blood flowed from the corner of Fang Ping's mouth, but he was still laughing wildly. Close, and immediately caught up with him. I kill you. Yuan Shidong, who had been holding back hatred and anger all the time, finally couldn't bear it any longer after hearing Fang Ping's extremely sarcastic words. With a face of mad anger, he immediately stopped and turned to attack Fang Ping. Boom! The purple-green palm with strong inner energy slapped Fang Ping's head fiercely. However, Yuan Shidong, who successfully hit Fang Ping, had an extremely painful look on his face. Because Fang Ping's hands have been deeply inserted into his chest. Gia, I can't stand it anymore. Fang Ping raised his head with a strange smile, his face grim. Hiss. In the dazzling Yuanwang Gangsha, Fang Ping tore Yuan Shidong in half in an instant. Countless big mouths swallowed Yuan Shidong's splashed flesh and blood. Boom. But at the same time, a terrifying attack also hit Fang Ping's location again. In a huge roar, the earth shook wildly, and countless cracks appeared on the entire ground, and even a huge crater appeared directly downward. Countless dust and smoke that were instantly impacted by the powerful power were scattered. But in the next moment, a violent and incomparable aura erupted in it, soaring into the sky, and all the smoke and dust were blown away in an instant. Old bastard, you played really well just now, didn't you? The dull sound like the explosion of thunder resounded through the heavens and the earth. Old bastard, you played really well just now, didn't you? A muffled thunder-like sound suddenly sounded in that violent aura. The spreading momentum suddenly dispelled all the dust and smoke around. I saw Fang Ping, who was full of muscles and knots, looked at Yuan Zong in the air behind him in a low-pitched pit of more than 10 meters. Hot air gushed out from his nostrils. In the next second, his body began to swell directly, and the originally swelled muscles stretched again and swelled. The agonizing sound of muscle and bone squeezing sounded continuously from his body. Muscles surging, bulging. At the same time, thick scaly cuticles appeared on his body, covering the entire surface of his body. Because of the pulling of the muscles and the stratum corneum, his face became a little stiff, as if he was wearing a human skin mask made of muscles. Raising a fist the size of a casserole, Fang Ping looked at Yuan Zong with a grin. Old bastard, next, I'll smash you to a pulp. Boom. As soon as the voice fell, where Fang Ping was, the space distorted instantly. When the sound of the air bursting on the ground sounded, the two people had collided with each other in an instant. Two rays of light, one white and one blue, collided wildly in the air. The white light is strange and evil, full of demonic nature that engulfs all life. The azure light was cold and gloomy, and it was madly filled with endless resentment. The roar was exploding. The sky and the ground trembled. Two rays of light flashed wildly in the air and on the ground, colliding with each other. The aftermath of the terrifying battle continued to impact the earth. A giant pothole with one in it kept appearing on the ground. The ground also began to smash and sink inch by inch. Boom! The two figures of extreme speed collided again. With a hiss, Yuan Zong's old dark blue fingers tore apart Fang Ping's chest muscles. But when his fingers stabbed Sunga in Fang Ping's muscles, blah, his fingers, along with his palms, arms, and even his entire body suddenly trembled. It was as if he had touched high voltage in an instant. It was also at the moment of his pause that Fang Ping's fingers, which were completely covered by the scaly cuticle, bent, like a dinosaur's claws grabbing forward in an instant. PFF'd. The sturdy, already ferocious claws penetrated directly through Yuan Zong's old and thin body. Countless Yuanwang gangs erupted in his body. At the same time, the muscles on Fang Ping's arm instantly swelled, and the arm bent sharply. Fang Ping hugged Yuan Zong completely. Jia Jia, I finally caught you. Fang Ping had a tyrannical smile on his face, and his expression was filled with a frantic look at Yuan Zong, who was in his arms, and laughed like a pervert. Although it's not my sister in my arms, but Rainbow. Fang Ping laughed wildly. The moment he laughed, a crackling sound of electric current sounded instantly. The endless electric light from Fang Ping's body instantly rushed into Yuan Zong's body like water bursting a dike. But because of Fang Ping's deliberate control, the white light blooming all over his body was more dazzling than those electric lights. So these electric lights hidden in the white light cannot be seen at all. The moment the violent thunder and lightning poured into his body, Yuan Zong's whole body twitched wildly. Let go of me. Ah! Yuan Zong screamed in pain and struggled frantically. But Fang Ping hugged him tightly. No matter how hard he struggled, he couldn't break free. Yuan Huang Gangsha and violent thunder and lightning madly annihilated his body, and his vitality was passing at a terrifying speed. It's my turn to let go. Yuan Zong's old eyes suddenly became extremely fierce, and then he directly exploded half of his body. Boom! The powerful force instantly sent the two of them, Fang Ping, being bombarded and flew upside down, while Yuan Zong was smashed to the ground. Yuan Zong, who fell to the ground with a bang, only half of his body remained. Twisted blood vessels danced in the huge tear of flesh in his mutilated body. A stronger and more sinister force erupted. A strand of hair fluttered, a shrill and screaming ghost shadow appeared above him. Death to me! The extremely angry Yuan Zong and the ghostly shadow above him raised their heads at the same time, and looked at Fang Ping who fell from the sky. Boom! The eyes of the ghost-like shadow burst into endless resentment instantly, while Yuan Zong below was emitting a seemingly endless inner chi. The combination of the two instantly erupted with terrifying power, and an arrogant ghost claw that distorted the space instantly grabbed Fang Ping, who fell from the sky. Feeling the space around him that seemed to be completely blocked, Fang Ping laughed loudly. Come on then. If you can't dodge it, hit it hard. Scalp. Fang Ping's face was hideous. He laughed frantically, and his hands were instantly stretched out as if they were holding up. Boom! The surrounding space that seemed to be blocked suddenly became distorted, and the space blockade collapsed instantly. Fang Ping's violent aura became even more terrifying. The sky seemed to be torn apart by this violent momentum. Yan _ Among the countless strange white lights, there seemed to be a shrill dragon roar resounding in the air. An incomparably gigantic demon dragon with dragon scales all over its body severed and sloughed off hovered and appeared, with scars all over its bare flesh and blood flowing across its body. It was clear that it was broad daylight, but at this moment it seemed to have become gloomy. The demon dragon with broken scales and bleeding, roared up to the sky, and flew down in an incomparably tyrannical instant. 0. This is the first time Fang Ping has used it since he used Originium to upgrade the former dragon prisoner to the Dragon Fighting 3 style. As soon as it appeared, the terrifying power made Fang Ping's heart tremble and he was extremely excited. This is the killer move I hoped for. Boom! The bloody demon dragon and the terrifying ghost claws collided instantly. The whole world was silent for a moment, and then there was a terrifying loud noise like the sky was torn apart. The sound waves generated by the impact instantly spread around, destroying and annihilating the Yuan family's manor and even the trees in the distance. In the next moment, the aftermath of the collision spread out following this sound wave, instantly reducing the ground in a large area by more than 10 centimeters. In the end, it was the terrifying moves of the two that burst out with their full power. In the huge roar, the sky did not collapse. But the ground is really cracked. The attack of the two was incomparably terrifying, but after the collision, the power of 1 + 1 greater than 2 erupted. The terrifying power instantly collapsed several hilltops in Kangshan Forest Park. The position where the two were fighting, and the large area of ground around them sank instantly. Yu Nangsen, who has been watching the battle between the two here in the distance, saw such a terrifying power. Instantly retreated 100 or 2 meters. How is it possible? With a look of horror and disbelief, Yu Nangsen stared at the situation here in complete stunned silence. Even the voice trembled a little. Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe.